2, 1. What is up, dude?
Hey.
It's cool to see you.
Cool to see you. Oh, I'm being filmed, aren't I? I forgot. I'm sitting here looking all weird.
Dude, so I want to get into comedy, obviously, but I had no idea you were a fucking comic book guy.
Well, yeah, I was. Like, I read a ton of comic books growing up, and lately I haven't, but yeah, I'm looking around and it's reminding me. We were talking about Alan Moore. You know what the best Alan Moore comic book series is that blew my mind? Actually gave me like an anxiety attack at one point. It's called Promethea.
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I've heard
so
of it.
it's set. It's like a sci-fi. It's set in the future, and there's this goddess called Promethea that manifests inside women throughout history, and it's just a complete mind fuck. I read that whole thing. So the thing about Alan Moore, we were talking about Alan Moore before we started recording, is along with being, in my opinion, the greatest comic book writer of all time, he's also insane and a practicing magician, like the occult, right?
Yeah, is he?
And
I had heard that, but I didn't know if that was true
and
or not.
And takes it very seriously, and just he's heavily influenced me, so we could get into that. But his work, his writing, is very much, well, you could argue that all writing is a work of magic, but Promethea in particular is very much a magical piece of work that he's put a lot into, and you feel it. There's a point in it where the characters are talking about being watched, and then after a while you realize they're talking about you reading it. And it's this moment where you're like, oh, you throw it. It's like in, was it The Never-Ending Story? Yeah. When he's like all freaked out and throws the book away. Did that to me.
When did that come out, the series?
I don't know. It's probably 10 years ago, something like that. Could have been longer. It's been around for a while. Because I think I read it about 10 years ago. So who knows?
Because the first one that I read of his that, well, in general, was Watchmen. Yeah. And that, I mean, I didn't understand it. And that's a book, even now, I can reread it and I'll find something new inside of it.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff about it. I completely forgot that there's like this whole island that Ozymandias created for just the scientists to figure out how to get the squid over.
Right.
Forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, which is not in the movie.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing with Alan Moore is... So he sort of... People into Alan Moore know that he has nothing to do with any of the movies that are made, any of his comic book adaptations.
He hates that his shit gets adapted.
But the reason is... See, I would argue that Watchmen is still a good movie. And V for Vendetta, I thought, was really well done.
Oh, yeah.
He's never watched them. And that's because the first movies of his that were adapted, other than they did a Swamp Thing, which was insane.
Nonsense.
Yeah. But also, did you ever read, what's it called? The Jack the Ripper?
From Hell.
From Hell.
Yeah. I'm proud to announce that the podcast is now officially sponsored by the fine people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, this is some of the best chili you can get here in the state of New Mexico, and they are online as well as in stores. They can be found at Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, John Brooks, and Lowe's Corner Market. They have 3 amazing flavors that you see here, and they also have frozen green chili that you can get online. Go on over to the website, chopchilico.com, and get yourself some amazing chili today. Podcast is now officially sponsored by the amazing people over at High Desert Relief, a premier herbal destination right here in the state of New Mexico. They have extremely well-trained and knowledgeable staff that are more than happy to help you find what you're looking for or try something that you maybe have never thought of. They have 2 locations here in Albuquerque, 1 in Santa Fe. All 3 will be listed right here and in the description of this episode. All 3 offering legendary products at absolutely legendary prices, including this awesome merch that they were so kind enough to gift me here. All of this can be found at all 3 of their locations. Again, big thank you to the guys over at HDR for supporting. Now back to the episode.
So the movie is so far removed from the comic book that... So the movie From Hell... just plays out like a typical Jack the Ripper, like whodunit. It's like who is Jack the Ripper?
Yeah.
The comic book, you know who Jack the Ripper is from the get-go. It's not a whodunit, it's a why done
Right.
it, and that's what's so cool, and it's
Right.
insane. So it's nothing like his comic book. And then they did the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Which I heard was horrible.
It is.
I've never seen it. But I
So
heard it was
it's a fun kids movie,
Okay.
but it's again so far removed from his actual comic book. I don't know why they. I mean, I guess they just wanted to use his name because they may as well have given it a different name altogether. They changed so much of it. The comic book is fucked up. I mean, you can see why they didn't do it. Like, there's a scene in the comic book where Mr. Hyde, there's Jekyll and Hyde as Mr. Hyde. So the Invisible Man is in it, and he rapes somebody. And so you find out that Mr. Hyde is able to see him the whole time, and to punish him, he rapes him to death.
Jesus.
I think he dies. But he definitely gets. He definitely.
That is an Alan Moore book.
Yeah, and they didn't put that in the movie. Like I said, it's more of a kids movie. But so I think those movies came out, and then he was like, "Fuck everything they do. They're just gonna ruin it." And then
Which
I think
is a shame.
It is a shame because I think that, like I said, I think Watchmen and Viva Vendetta were done pretty well.
I like Zack Snyder a lot. And I know a lot of people either hate him or love his movies, but I will say for everything that I love about Watchmen, because what I like about that movie is you can mute it and it's just a graphic novel in motion.
Right.
Every frame could have been a panel in a graphic novel. The only thing that I don't like about it, and I don't know how he would have done it any other way, the heroes are too cool. Which was kind of the whole point of the book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they're so out of shape and
Flawed
they're
and-
so
yeah.
weird. Like it's like they're too flashy.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if they're not flashy, the movie kind of would have had something missing.
Right.
Which is in the way it's presented.
I know what you mean.
You know, like
Which is why, I mean, this is why I think they did as good of a job as you can, because I know that Alan Moore himself said he was in talks with, do you know Terry Gilliam? He was the American member of Monty Python. So he's directed a bunch of great movies, 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
Shit, I can't think of any others. But anyway, he wanted to make, years before Watchmen came out, he wanted to make Watchmen. He met with Alan Moore and said, how would you go about making a Watchmen movie? And then Alan Moore said, well, I wouldn't. And Terry Gilliam went, oh, okay. And then he didn't do it. That was that. But that's the thing, is that he very much felt like you couldn't do it. And
What'd you think of the show? Did you see the show? The HBO TV show they did about Watchmen?
I never watched it.
So it's a direct sequel
That's right.
to the comic.
Yeah.
And if you have HBO, you should really check it
Yeah.
out.
I don't know why I didn't. I remember I was going to watch it and I didn't.
It came out right before the pandemic happened.
Okay.
And it's interesting. Like they make some I don't want to spoil it if you don't know anything about it.
No. Yeah.
They make some interesting decisions. They make a lot of great ones, and it's what I respect the most about that show is it forces you to read the book first. Like if you have not read the book, you have no idea what's going on.
Right. Okay. So it's like, is it more true to the comic books? Okay, gotcha.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, this isn't a spoiler, but there are people in the world, because it's like, I think 20 years after, or like 10 years after, and there's people in the world who have PTSD from the squid attack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the interpretation of that and the way it's shown, and especially with the budget that they have, which is not very much, it's done really well. But then there's some other things that happen where I'm like, shouldn't have done that.
Right. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, is it? I'll cut it some slack, but I'm going to check it out. I don't know why I never watched it, like I said.
Yeah, it's well worth your time. And it kind of like when we were saying about Alan Moore, he just doesn't watch his stuff and he doesn't want it to be adapted.
Won't accept money.
Frank,
he says he gets checks all the time. He just throws them away.
That's crazy.
And I think he originally said he wanted them to just give it to the other people that worked on it, but he still gets checks, and he's like, but he's doing okay.
Yeah, I'm sure he's doing just fine. I think they reprinted Swamp Thing for the 15th time, so I think he's doing just fine.
Yeah.
But Frank Miller's the same way.
Yeah.
Kooky old man, sticks to himself.
Yeah.
Hates the fact that they put Elektra in the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he lost his mind over that, and then he just got re-pissed off again when they did Daredevil for Netflix, and they made Elektra in the second season. He flipped out again. He's like, Elektra's my fucking, which is insane to me. But so he wrote The Dark Knight Returns, but he wrote. Have you read The Dark Knight Strikes Back
I'm sure I have.
or Strikes Again?
Oh, maybe not.
It's notoriously bad.
Okay.
Like it's accepted as one of the worst comic books ever written. But apparently, the backstory behind it, talk about a fuck you to a company. I guess he wrote Dark Knight Returns, which became like the massive hit, one of the best books ever written. And he was like, "All right, that's it. That's my last. I don't want to touch comics anymore. Like I'm done." And they were like, "No, you're gonna do this." I guess they wrote something in his contract that he had missed.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're gonna do it. So then he intentionally wrote one of the worst comics ever made.
Yeah.
And it's so bad.
Wow.
And it's so poorly written.
I don't think I've read it, but I've realized I'm at a stage in my life where I can read things and watch movies. I'll watch a movie, I'll put a movie on, and I'll get like an hour and a half into it before I realize I've already seen it. So I get close to the end and I'm like, I remember how this ends. So it's like I spoil it for myself. I'm like, I wasted all my time. Happens all the time.
I think that's called Alzheimer's, bud.
What? God, that scares me. Yeah. No, I think I've just lived too much.
What kind of media did you grow up on? Like, what were you, like, books or movies? Like, what type of stuff were you watching when you were a kid?
So obviously I grew up in England, not Australia. And
your joke about that, I don't want to give it away.
But
no,
it's
joke
fine,
about that's hilarious.
Do you know I did it the other day? So I'll give it away. I just point out that I don't sound English anymore. I sound like a slightly gay Australian. And I did that the other day at a show, and there was an old Australian couple there, and their son is gay. And it really enhanced what would have been maybe not a great set. And then I did an impression of Australian. They said it was spot on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, now what did I grow up? I mean, I grew up watching really weird English TV, things that no one here will have seen. And like, yeah, I read comics. That's like my brother and I, when we were growing up, our parents were like, got us into comics really early because I think it's a really good way of getting kids to learn to read at a young age. So
that's how I learned how to read.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I don't know, a lot of the same shit that people here are watching, I'm sure. Yeah.
So when did you move to the States?
Okay, so it's complicated because I grew up in England, born and raised. When I was 12, my mother and father had got divorced, and my mother moved me, my brother, and my sister with our stepdad to Maryland. And I lived there for about 6-7 months. And then I went back to England and I lived with my dad from that point on. Oh, so I had like this I spent half a year in Maryland. Horrible time. Horrible. Then I lived in England. Then I came over to, it's too long and boring of a story. At some point my mother moved to New Mexico from Maryland. I still don't really know why. I came over when I was 20. And then the plan was to be here for a year, and now I have 15 children.
Oh, fuck! So you've been here since you were 20 years old.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been here longer now than I lived in England.
Was it an adjustment moving from England to New Mexico?
Yeah.
What were the major I hate the term culture shock.
No, yeah.
You know,
I mean, the culture shock wasn't too bad for me because I'd been coming to visit for a few years.
Okay.
So to be honest, I can't even remember. I mean, there's a slight language barrier. I'd have to repeat myself a lot more back then than I do now. Food is obviously very different. I don't know. It's a weird thing because the two cultures are so similar in so many ways, but there's just little things. Yeah, sorry, I can't even think what the biggest culture shock would have been. Just how easy it was to get laid here. No, I'm joking. No.
They are very fertile here.
Yeah,
so they're ready to...
I have 3 kids, by the way. I don't have 15 kids. At least I don't believe I do.
So, what got you into comedy? That's what I'm real curious about. Because I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. You are one of my favorite people to watch.
Just kidding.
It is incredible what you do on stage.
Well, thanks. I mean, basically being a massive failure at everything I've ever done. And so I started stand-up at 32, which is not like mega old, but it's older than most people start, right? And I was just thinking about this earlier today. Believe it or not, between my teen years and up until I was sort of into my late 20s, I had extreme social anxiety. And I know that's like a trendy thing to have now, but I'm talking like I couldn't go shopping. I'd go into a store, I'd be in there for like 5 minutes and I'd just have to leave because I felt like everyone was staring at me. I couldn't go to college. I remember going multiple times in my 20s, in my early 20s, I would drive to C&M, that was called TVI back then, and I would sit in the parking lot for like an hour or longer, and I just could not go inside and get it done. So,
did anybody else in your family struggle with that?
I don't.
Or was that even a conversation in your family? For a lot of people, it's not.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was.
Yeah,
I didn't talk about it till later. But yeah, because of that, I mean, it was fuck. This is probably a really long conversation getting into what happened to my brain, but like I couldn't maintain a job. I've had every job you can think. I've worked in a vet clinic. I've done landscaping. I've worked in a photo lab. I've been a pimp. I've done all sorts of shit, and most of my jobs would last 6 months, and then I just stopped going back. Like I wouldn't even quit. I just not go there anymore.
And was that all stemming out of the anxiety you were dealing with?
It was
because you said that you just mentioned that it was like, yeah, it's a trendy thing. A lot of people say, oh, I have anxiety. Oh, I'm this. Oh, but no, there are people that legitimately deal with like, I can't be in public for too long.
Yeah,
I can't meet new people.
It's complicated because nobody who knew me would think, like people that knew me well, I was very comfortable with. I was playing rugby for a team in Albuquerque, and as long as I was like with that group of friends, I was very confident. It was only if I was alone that I would completely just self-destruct. But I think also it's another trendy thing. Like I have legitimate ADHD that like ruins everything, and like it'll happen. One of the symptoms that will happen, and it's actually happened, I just didn't say anything, is I will frequently just forget mid-sentence what it was I was talking about. Like it could be Alzheimer's, like you said. I hope not. I'm not that old, but apparently that is a sign of ADHD as well. I'll be in the middle, and on my own podcast, it happens all the time. I'll just be in the middle of talking about something. I'm very animated about it, very excited about it, and then I realize I don't remember what the fuck I was talking about, and I have to just change tack. But anyway, we're going way off topic. What was your question? You said, how do they start stand-up? Oh, yeah.
So we were going down the path of, so you had a bunch of jobs.
Yeah.
And 6 months or so, really, about 6 months, you ended up just leaving
and
anyway.
But these were all dead-end jobs. These weren't like careers. Like there weren't any. There were things I hated doing anyway. But then at some point, so I had. I
want to branch off something you said as well. So you're obviously very fit. You were probably the most in shape comic in town. You are jacked to the fucking gills, dude.
See, and that's because that itself probably comes from mental illness. I played rugby for years, and the short answer to why I'm permanently jacked and I must be jacked at all times is when I was playing rugby as a child, when I was growing up as a teenager, I was the same height, I think, when I was about 13 as I am now. So I all of a sudden went from being tall to being told I was too small for the position I played.
Oh, shit.
And it like fucked me in the head. And I was like, I got to be, if I can't be taller, I have to get bigger.
Yeah.
So that sort of made this obsession with like bulking up and being muscular and stuff. I have veered away from that more recently. I'm much more interested in being healthy, but it's still a thing that it's equal parts positive and sort of self-destructive, negative. It's like, yes, I want to be healthy, but also there's this weird ego thing.
No, for sure. You want to lift the heaviest weight. I need the biggest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Well, because I bring that up just because when you brought about rugby, so you're most comfortable around them. Was it the people? Was it the strenuous exercise that helped take your brain off of it?
So I mean, yeah, it was just that it was people that I clicked with, friends of mine. It needn't have been rugby. It was the same with my friends from England. If I was with my friends, I would be confident, but it's when I was alone that I would struggle. But yeah, that's the only thing I could do, like that I could commit to all the time was working out. It's like I've been doing it so long now, I just couldn't stop. Like if I don't work out on a day I'm supposed to work out, bad things happen. Like I will physically feel bad,
right?
And then psychologically, I feel even worse.
You ever compete? You ever do bodybuilding or anything like that?
Can I? Like, I hope I don't offend anyone, but I don't understand the appeal of prancing around on a stage in a thong.
Okay, can I be completely honest with you? I agree.
Yeah,
and so I love bodybuilding. I love the sport. I did a local natural, obviously, it's like smaller level physique competition like 2 years ago. Yeah. And I gotta be honest, I fucking loved being in prep.
Right.
There was some, because like you were just saying, I'd always like stayed in shape and been fit and that kind of stuff. But like, there's something about like being in prep towards a goal that I was like, oh, this is fucking cool. And then it became like this weird like, sadomasochistic game. Right? It's like, so I would do cardio in the morning, weights in the evenings. It's like, oh, all right, well, I just did like 30 minutes. Tomorrow I'm going to do 30, 35 or 40. Okay, now I'm going to do that. And then it's scaled. It's like, okay, I'm going to do like an hour and a half in the morning on the bike. And I'm fucking depleting myself. Like, I think I started cutting at like 188, 186. And I cut down to like 151, something like that. Whoa. And I'm already like a smaller framed guy. So I was just like, like I remember I looked at podcasts that I shot while I was in prep. And I looked like a fucking, my face was like...
Yeah, I get like that too, because I go through extreme diet, like never for a purpose, usually just stress. Like I'll stop eating and then I just go with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get really gaunt.
You accidentally cut weight.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I accidentally get into a cut. And then whenever I start to get happy, I start eating again. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm bulking now.
It's your body's putting the cycle for you through. But I bring that up because I love being in prep. But actually getting on stage. I remember being on stage and looking out, I was like, this is the gayest thing I could be kissing a guy right now. And that would be
It is the gayest thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't see the appeal other than, like, I don't see the appeal of doing it. I would feel really weird.
Yeah.
All oiled up and fucking, like I said, a little thong and... Also, I don't see the appeal in being in the audience. I don't know why people want to...
So I see the appeal on both ends. I do.
Okay.
I just didn't like it for myself, but I can appreciate like the work that goes into it.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I appreciate the work that goes into it, and then like especially like at the highest levels, like fucking Chris Bumstead is insane.
I mean that makes sense if you're on a level where, I mean. I think it's a terrible idea because I think it's extremely unhealthy. But, but if you want to go that route, I get that. I get just obsessing and being like, I want to prove I'm the best.
Yeah.
But for someone like me, it's like, what do I get out of it?
Right. No, you have to, and that's another part of it. My God, that's one thing that weeded me out of it. Like after that first show, I was like, okay, to do this like other things, but especially this is something you need to dedicate your life to. And no. Just no. I love working out. I love staying in shape.
Right.
But like,
and that's why I do it. It's like, I mean, you could argue that, just life is my bodybuilding stage. Like, I just want to look that way in general. But again, I don't see it. I don't even really think about it that much. Like, I work out. I sort of watch what I eat, and sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and go, "You fat piece of shit." And then I like get annoyed with myself. But that's about as far as it goes. Like sometimes I'll interact with gym bros, and I love gym bros. They're like lovely people usually. But
the biggest guy in the gym is usually the nicest.
Oh yeah.
Usually.
But I'm not, and people often assume that I'm a gym bro, like, and I want to talk. But I literally had to tell somebody once, working out is not a personality trait. It's a thing I do.
Yeah.
I don't really have any, it's like I was thinking, I sleep a lot more than I do work out.
Which is why...
But I don't want to talk about sleeping with people. What kind of bed you got, bro? Like, I just don't care. And I don't care what people are doing in the gym. If someone wants, like, my advice on something, I'm fine talking about it. But I don't invest a lot of thought into it.
Interesting. Because I mean this as a compliment. Like, you... are built like a guy that like counts his macros and like.
No, and I do all that stuff.
You do.
I do. Sorry, yeah, I'm being a bit like I care but it's like
it hasn't like completely like taken over your ego. or your personality.
Yeah. It's not. It's a thing that.
Yeah.
It's its own. I work out and I eat the way I think I should eat as best I can to get the results I want, and then that's it. Other than that, I'm focused on life, or sometimes not. Sometimes I'm just focused on trying not to think about life.
Do you drink a lot?
I've almost never drink, but it's not. That's always been, to be honest with you. If I drink, I'll drink at a show. I'll usually have a beer before a show just to relax a bit, and sometimes I'll have more. If I'm like going out, if there's a party or something, I'll drink. I'm not like against drinking, but generally I don't drink unless I'm having a good time. I can't understand people that get depressed so they drink, because I get really depressed, and if I drink, it's going to make everything worse, and I just know where that's going to go. So I just never. But I've never been much of a drinker. I've never drank alone.
Interesting.
Ever.
Really?
I've never sat at home and had a beer or anything. It's always part of a social experience. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's coming from somebody like I just got back from Austin, and I drank every fucking night when I was out there. And so now I'm like, okay, we are gonna not do that for at least 45 days. Just to give my body a reset, give my liver a reset.
Yeah.
I might stretch out a little bit longer to how good I've been feeling over the last like week or so of not drinking. But yeah, because I'll let's say, because I'm usually up pretty late, like working on the podcast, working on stand up or whatever, or if I'm just playing video games with my homies. Yeah,
I stay up way too late.
So I'll kick back, I'll have a glass or two of whiskey. Won't get plastered or anything, just have like a couple. But yeah, I think the Austin trip for me is like a little bit of a magnifying glass. Like, oh, okay, we need to like not do this. You know what I mean? But it shows like for people. I just had a guy in here on Tuesday night who's jacked just like you, and he's in a metal band, and they don't drink fucking at all. And the dude's in his fucking late 40s, looks like he's 30.
Yeah,
and. Because if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 44.
Yeah, okay, so fucking, mid to late 40s, same exact case, and you look like you're in your fucking 30s.
Oh, thanks. I feel like shit. That's what I always say. Hey, you look great. I feel like shit all the time.
Well, I think a lot of that, the de-aging, I guess, I don't like saying anti-aging because it's like, we're all aging.
Right.
But
but I am anti-aging, and I'm against it.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Well, what I think a big aspect of that is the no booze.
It may well be, and it's something, because I don't really think about it, because I'm not, when I say I don't drink, I'm not being like pious higher than that. It's just not a thing that, trust me, I have very self-destructive habits. They're just not that. Like, I sleep like shit. But do you know what I think? I have a theory about aging. I know a couple of people who absolutely don't take care of themselves, drink all the time, overweight, sloppy pieces of shit. These are good friends.
Human ugg.
Yeah,
the sweatpants of people.
Close friends of mine. But nevertheless, you would think they're younger than there's something about them that they seem younger, and the thing that they have in common, and I hope this doesn't sound really cheesy and stupid, but they refuse to grow up. They're just childish by nature. They are silly geese. 24/7.
They live in ignorance.
Yeah, and
they don't watch the news.
And they're playing video games, and like one of them collects Lego, obsessed with Lego. And I swear to God, you see them, and you're like, you think they're 6-7 years younger than they are, and that's without even taking care of themselves physically. I think that's a big part of it. Like I live and act very much the same way as I did in my 20s now. And that's another thing, just absolutely refusing. So I say I'm anti-aging. I'm like, I cannot stand the thought that I can't do things that I used to be able to do. And I genuinely, there's not much difference now. I mean, I get injured more easily. I did try and play rugby at, I think I was 41, and I went back to train, and I didn't know how I was going to do. I felt great. I felt strong, fast, skillful, everything was great. And the next day I couldn't walk, my hip was fucked.
Oh, I'm sure.
So little things like that, the recovery and stuff, not a lot you can do about it. But yeah, I mean, the not drinking probably does help. But like I said, I sleep like shit. I got diagnosed, How do you feel about the sleep apnea thing? Because I got diagnosed with it years ago. They gave me a CPAP. I couldn't use it. In fact, it made things worse.
Why couldn't you use it?
So every time I just cannot sleep when I wear. I joke that I have sleep apnea. Like I can sleep better without it. If I try and sleep with the mask on, I'll just be up all night, and I'll do it night after night, and eventually I'm like, I just, even if I try to keep it on, I'll wake up the next day and it's not on me anymore because in my sleepy state I rip it off.
That's how I am about my fucking. So I'm supposed to wear a night guard or a mouth guard at night.
I should probably try that.
I don't grind. I clench my teeth. I clench my jaw at night, and I feel it sometimes in the mornings. I'm like, what the fuck?
Now, is that like a stress thing? Because
I think it's halfway a stress thing. I used to also grind my teeth when I was a little kid.
Okay.
So it might be like just a thing that runs in the family. But anyway, my point is like I'll throw the mouth guard in, and my brain is so focused on keeping the mouth guard in place, no matter how much I change the distance on it, no matter how I whatever. My brain is just so focused on keeping the mouth guard in place and not letting saliva build up. That I just can't fucking fall asleep. I can't do it.
I'm sure it would do the same thing to me.
You know what I mean?
Because I had, for a while there, my, I've always had TMJ. But my fucking jaw, like, obviously I've broken my nose a shit ton of times. I also had my teeth smashed in playing rugby. That's why this tooth sticks forward. I wish I just lost it, to be honest. But no, I tackled someone, their head hit me. It was like, I was like 16, and it was the one day I didn't wear a mouth guard. Head hit me, and all I knew was I chipped some teeth. Like I was like, oh, but it wasn't that bad. But over time, I realized all this row of teeth on the right are like pushed in, and a dentist said that I fractured my skull. I just didn't know it. It's fucking insane.
Because I was gonna say, rugby doesn't. You guys don't wear helmets, do you?
No, you can wear. There's like head guards. You can wear headgear, like padded, like kind of like old fashioned football ones, you know,
like the leather heads.
But the
leathernecks or whatever the fuck they're called.
Yeah, I don't know. But some people wear them. Some people, I personally found them annoying.
No, they're a bunch of pussies.
No, it's not even that. Yeah. No, for me, it's actually, especially playing here, it gets so hot with it on. And then also, it kind of affects your peripheral vision. I don't know how people can play it with them. Like, I found it harder to catch the ball, so I just sort of... I struggle enough anyway.
I haven't spent a lot of time watching rugby, but from the little clips I've seen on YouTube, I could not imagine playing that shit without a fucking helmet.
Oh, well, you know, it's like you just don't... You don't play this...
There's technique to it.
Yeah, and it's like you're not going to run head first
into
somebody else's head if you don't have the helmets on. Like in NFL, you just can't do that. So, but I mean, it is rough. You know, I'm sure we were going to talk about my rugby podcast. So I had been doing a rugby podcast for years. I obsessively did it. I've watched rugby constantly my entire adult life. I have not watched rugby now in over a month, and I haven't done the podcast in over a month.
Why is that?
To be honest, my like long-term girlfriend broke up with me, and it fucked me up, and I just couldn't get any pleasure from doing the rugby. Tried to do a podcast, just my heart wasn't in it. And now, after this length of time not doing it, not watching it, I kind of feel like it was a distraction. Like I feel like I was. It took up so much time. I watched. Let's see, like 6. I probably watched. I'm trying to think. My math is terrible. I don't know. I probably watched like 8 to 10 hours of rugby a week, and then in addition to that, had to plan a podcast, did the podcast, social media with the podcast. Like it took up a huge chunk of my time. And now I've only just now at 44 decided, for example, I want to take stand-up seriously, because I've been doing stand-up comedy. We were talking about that, weren't we? We never fucking got into why I started doing it. I will get back to that. I've been doing stand-up comedy for 12 years with an enforced break during lockdowns. And I've never really pushed myself. Not because I don't want to and not because I'm lazy, but I find it really, really hard to self-promote. I find it really hard to get booked. I don't really get booked very often.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you said it, so I'm going to compound on that. There is, in my humble opinion, and again, I've only been doing comedy for fucking like 6-7 months now.
Yeah.
You should be fucking headlining places like Dry Heat.
Oh.
Upon request. You are so fucking good.
Thank you.
Like, it shows that you've been doing it. Yes, COVID happened, but it shows that you've been doing it for so long. You are good,
But to the extent, well, sometimes I'm good. I feel like I'm very, I don't know. There's something wrong with me. Like, I'll have some shows where I'm just like, oh boy, here I go killing again. I'm going to fucking destroy. And I know it, and it happens. And then I have shows where I'm like, fuck, why are they even letting me do this? And it'll often go badly.
I feel like that happens, but that's everybody.
You're probably right. But here's the thing. Dude. I get booked so rarely that, for the past few years, I host a show in Rio Rancho. That is often the only stage time I get, unless I do open mics. So I'm hosting a show with the same people, so I don't even get to practice my best material because I did it the month before. They've heard it. So I have to fuck around.
Yeah.
It's useful. Like, I'm pretty good at hosting because I'm pretty good at crowd work. Didn't used to be, hated crowd work. Now I'm pretty good at crowd work and pretty good at just hyping people up and stuff like that. But it's been really hard doing one show a month, not able to work on my best set. And then, an open mic here and there. But that's on me. Even when I should have been going to open mics, I find it hard to get myself to do it. And I should probably be in the scene more. Like, back before lockdowns, back in the day, I was at least one open mic a week and just constantly talking. And that's why I would get booked. And now I'm not. But I will be now. I'm going to be way more active because I think being in a relationship held me back as well. Now I don't have that. And I've...
Well, priority shifts. And you have to... you have to, you have to water that garden. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I haven't been. I've been treating that garden the way I treat my actual garden, which is I ignore it till it dies. So in fact... It was right after my ex-girlfriend now just ended things out, and just a huge shock. I was like, well, there's things I've been saying I'm going to do. I mean, that was part of the problem, is I basically have been procrastinating to the point of being completely stagnant. Like, I looked at my life and I am not in a better position now than I was 10 years ago, And so I actually...
Is that just stand-up, or is that in general?
In general.
Okay.
Yeah. In many ways, it's worse because I am in the same position. I'm just older. But I talked to, shout out to Kurt Fletcher, my, what do I call him now? My mentor. Have you had Kurt Fletcher in here?
He will be on soon.
Okay.
He will be on soon.
I just told him, I was like, right, I just want to, I don't know if I'm going to get booked locally that much, but I want to get on the road. And now I have a very set, clear plan. I have kids. That's the other thing that they're the other thing that ruins my life. Just kidding. No, that's another thing that is a complication that holds me back in terms of career, is I've never been able to just go off on the road because I've always had kids. But now my youngest son is 11. I'm at a point now where my plan is to try and find a way to be on the road literally half the time. So what I would try and do is go on the road for 2 weeks, be back in town for 2 weeks. During the 2 weeks I'm back, I have my kids, and then just see how that works. Because there was a period where my kids were so, not that they're not important now, but when I was married, I was with my ex-wife for 15 years. And when we separated, it was really hard on me to not have my kids all the time. I used to see them all day, every day. And then all of a sudden it was like Wednesday through, I can't even remember what the schedule used to be, but I would have them half of the week. And then recently it's changed to I have them for a week, she has them for a week, which again was difficult for me at first, but now I'm used to it and I'm like, we could do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. I could do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to try and do a lot more stand-up now. Now, how did I get into stand-up to begin with? Like I said, I was struggling at everything I did. I felt like the first career advice I ever got was in England. I always remember making a kid at school, I was probably 8 years old, laugh, and he said, "You should be a comedian." And by the way, it wasn't profound to me. I didn't go, "Oh, could I?" at all. But for some reason, I do remember it. And I was always able to make my friends laugh. I never thought I'd have the balls to do it. It was inconceivable. It was like, yeah, that would be nice, but I can't even go shopping. Like, how am I going to do that? But I talked to a friend of mine about whether or not he thought I could do it. He said he thought I could. I took it very seriously. I was very... I planned this meticulously. Some people will just go to an open mic and go, fuck it, I'll give it a shot. I wrote material for a year before I did my first open mic. When I went to do my first open mic, I knew how long they needed, and I had it verbatim in my head. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I remember driving, there was a brewery, it's closed, it's called Hallen Brick Brewery. In fact, when I went there, it was the day they were closing. And I was like, I think I made a joke about, God, it's my first ever open mic and they're already telling me I can never come back. But so it kind of worked out. But I had this bit about, it was about like breeding pugs, because I worked at a vet clinic at the time. And it was kind of I knew I had to do well, because if I didn't, I would never do it again. So, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, they say they bombed their first set. I actually killed my first set. Like, it was great. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm amazing. And then the second set, killed. Third set, killed. Fourth set, it was like really good responses. Then I bombed for the first time, and it was the end of the world. It was awful. I was like, I remember just driving home, literally screaming. And I live in Rio Rancho. It was a long drive, and I screamed the entire way back. And I just remember laying there like all night, just going, "I'm fucked. Because in my head I was like, "This is what I have to do. This is the only thing I can do." I'm still a bit like that. I still, after all this time, when I don't have a good set, it fucks me up. I had one really profound open mic where I legitimately bombed, like had a really bad set, under circumstances that, you know, it doesn't mean shit. You know what it's like. Some open mics you go to, there's only comics there. Some of them aren't listening. Some of them are weird as fuck. And it's kind of like, you can't do anything with that. But it doesn't matter what the excuse is. I fucking lose it. So I get angry. I had a set. This is about a year ago. Didn't go well. My friend was there. She was going to do a set. And I was like, when do you go up? She goes, I'm not going up for like another half an hour. I went, I'll be right back. I left with the full intention of just leaving. I was like, I'm just going to leave. And then when she texts me, I'll never respond. I'll never speak to her again. I'm like, I'm done. Yeah. And then I couldn't find my car. I started looking around. I was like, wait, where the fuck did I park? In the amount of time it took me to find my car, I had this epiphany where I realized that I wasn't angry with how the set went, how the crowd reacted. I was angry with how I handled it. I was angry that I allowed it to fuck me up. And I went, I'm going to go back in there. I'm going to sit there. I'm going to sit in this shit, this feeling that I have, right? This just nastiness. And I'm going to take it because they don't owe me anything. Nobody owes me anything. You get this, some comics, I get this. You have this, like, it's an ego thing. It's like you think everyone in there is judging you and obsessing over you the way that you're obsessing over you. And in reality, they've already forgotten about you. They don't care.
Yeah, nobody gives a fuck.
I always think they're like, oh, they're loving this. They're loving that I did bad, you know? So I went back in there.
Well, okay, not for nothing, but for some comics in this city, there is that.
Oh, yes.
Sure. There is
but
that.
even then.
Which is so silly.
You can either give a shit or not. And that's the thing. So I sat there and I it's incredible to me now. I had the most profound... It's the closest thing I've had to like a spiritual awakening. I felt blissfully happy. I sat there and didn't give a fuck. And I was like, I have killed my ego.
Yeah.
I will never care anymore. And it turns out that's not true. I've had bad sets since then where I got really, really angry again. But it did make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my plan. I was like, I remember I started at 32, and actually when I started stand-up, I said, if I don't make it by the time I'm 40, I'm done. I'll quit. I'm now 44, and I'm further behind than I was then.
At that time, how did you define making it? That's it's a different thing for
income,
everybody.
like sustaining my
like
life.
Like
yeah.
paying the bills, really doing it.
Yeah,
Okay.
being a professional. That's what I wanted. Of course, I had, grander ideas of how successful I could be, but that was the bare minimum. And I was and at some point I reassessed. I remember saying to a friend, at 40, I still have time to make it, right? And my friend's like, yeah, absolutely. Now I'm 44, and it's funny. It's true. When you get older, you actually feel like you have more time. It's weird.
Well, because when you're, I mean, to me, 40 seems so far away, but it's only 13 years.
Yeah.
And it goes like that.
Yeah.
And there are times now granted, I've started feeling some back pain, but yeah, there's no matter what. I go, fuck, I'm 26 now. I'm 27 next month. What the fuck? I'm almost 30.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it's older and older, but then I'd imagine that when you get to it, it's like, oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're here.
I mean, yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's times where I'm like, fuck, I wish I was 10 years younger. But you know what? I was thinking that when I started at 32. When I started at 32, I felt like I was starting too late. And I don't even like saying at 44 that it's like, ooh, it's really pushing it, because there's people who want to start at 60, and there's no reason why they shouldn't. But anyway, that's essentially why I started doing stand-up. It was the only thing I felt like I could do well. And then I started, and it did go well. But I never... Partly because I had kids. I mean, it really don't have kids. Okay, that really did hold me back quite a lot. And then I can get really bitter about this shit. So my ex-wife, I was with her for 15 years. I essentially, for 10 years, she didn't work, which was fine. But I was working. It's not like I had a good job. I was waiting tables. I was working in a brewery as a server. So I provided all the income. And when I was doing stand-up, I remember hating my job and saying to my wife at the time, I can't take it. Like, I literally drive to work and I want to I'll get out the car, walk towards the door, and everything inside of me is telling me to run back to my car and just drive away. Like, it was really hard. And I remember being like, maybe you could work a couple of shifts too, so I don't have to. And she was like, I won't get into it because I'll sound too bitter. But eventually she went back to school and worked to get her master's, so she in social work. So I provided for her while she did that. With the plan was, God, I hope she didn't hear this, because I'm not bitter about this anymore, to be honest with you. But I was for a while. The plan was that once she graduated and was able to work, I could focus on stand-up fully. And almost to the day that she graduated, it's complicated, but she fucked off. Like, and I do not believe she planned it that way. Let's just say I pushed her away for a while as well. But
well, it does take two to tango.
Yeah. So it's complicated, but at the end of the day, I had been hanging in there for this one moment, and then once it happened, it's like, just kidding. So during that time, I was like holding myself back in stand up too. I was like, once this happens, I can fully like commit to stand up. Then this was about 4.5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. It was like right before lockdowns, but I lost my mind at that point. Then I dated a girl like half my age. That kind of fucked me up. Then I got into another relationship. This is the other thing. I've not been single as an adult ever. This is like the first time I've been single. Like, what I would typically do is date a girl and then find someone else and go with them. And then I think I might have been single for about a month and a half once. And I'd always just go straight into another relationship because of abandonment issues that I don't want to get into.
Well, self-awareness is a very important thing.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, that can be now that you're in this part of your life, that can be a very, because it's waters you haven't gone into yet. It's very exciting. I am like, not that you're not your own person in relationships, but the idea of a healthy relationship is two people coming together to make one life, right? That's outside of kids, but like just one life. But being completely and totally like, because you hear about that a lot in people that hop from relationship, it's like they've never had the opportunity to be like autonomous.
Yeah,
to be
because it's horrifying.
Yeah, because again, self-awareness. For a lot of people, it's scary. A lot of people, it's boring. For a lot of people, it's because I feel like it's a lot of, this is even personal experience as well. It's a lot of work to figure out who you are by yourself. Whereas if you get into a relationship, it's okay, but I'm this person's partner. That's who I am. What is the best version of this version of myself that I can be, rather than I am me alone. What does that look like? What does unsupervised me look like by himself?
Yeah, just a masturbating freak.
It's like Randy in South Park. Just in the basement.
Yeah. No, I mean, that was me in a relationship as well, so it doesn't change anything.
Well, you get my point.
Yeah,
like
I mean, that's what I'm going through right now. It's horrifying, and it's tricky, and it's trick. It's
if you don't mind me asking. So, in the time where you're like, "Fuck this job, fuck this shit," was there ever like, I could go into trades, or like maybe I should go back to school?
Yeah, but only. I think when I was at that point, I kind of knew, I kind of felt like I was going to have to make it in stand-up. I didn't think, for some reason, I did believe that I would make it. Maybe not fully, but that was the plan, and it was more just like, I would never have considered anything else. Later on, I started like looking at other options. I was like, because I can't, excuse me, if I'd have known that I would be in this position 10 years ago, I would have done something else. Like I did go back to school eventually. When I got my associate's degree, and then I went to UNM for a while, but I never finished my bachelor's because I was getting a degree in it was a communication degree, bachelor's in journalism. And then I started thinking, what's the point of this? And then I was like, I'm just going to focus on stand-up. So, and then I tried to go back to UNM. I was like, I'm so close. I'll just finish my degree. And I could not get them. It was either during lockdowns or towards the end of it. It was when you couldn't go and you had to email. I couldn't get these fucking idiots to understand that I was a former student. They kept wanting me to send my transcripts from the UK. And I'm like, I've got like my UNM ID here. Like, I've taken classes. You don't need all of that. And I couldn't. And eventually, I just gave up. I was like, their incompetence is stopping me from going. So
what the fuck?
I still think I'll finish it just to say, fuck, I don't know, because right now I'm dealing with my goddamn student loan debt.
Yeah, that is one thing. Like, for all the stupidity that I've gone through with UNM, that is the one thing I'm very thankful about. I don't have fucking student. I've got my own debt. But it's not.
But you know what? It doesn't stress me. I don't care about it. Like, I'm really good at just dismissing this shit. I've just ignored it. I've never paid a penny.
Well, it's a fucking scam.
But here's the thing. I need to get a new car. My credit is good. There's nothing wrong with my credit.
Yeah.
But they need me to get my student loans deferred, and I have not been. I finally was like, pulled my finger out my ass. I was like, I'm going to get my loans deferred, because there's two different companies dealing with these loans for some reason.
Yeah.
And one of them is like transitioning to a different company, and I can't do anything. They can't respond to me, so I literally can't do anything about it. I need to get my loans deferred so I can get a car. It's ridiculous.
I'm slowly starting to figure out how stupid the credit system is. Like, for me, like, even with the debt that I have a pretty decent credit score. And I was trying to get a loan, and even with my long credit history and a good credit score, they were like, your credit's not, what do they call it? It's not diverse enough.
Diverse enough?
And I'm like, what the fuck you, you need, like, they want you to have, like, a credit history with credit cards and then with
you know
small
what? I bet
loans,
that's my problem as well. Because
with that.
I've tried to get, like easy loans. Like, I was buying a mattress. They're like, oh, you'll get approved. Like, do you have bad credit? No. Okay, no problem. Oh, it's been denied. I had that with a mattress. I had it with, do you know I've tried to go on TRT? I was like, fuck it, I'll try it. I don't feel like I need it, but I'll try it. And I went in there, and then they told me how much it would be, and I was like, fuck that. And they were like, well, you can get, what was it? Financing or something. I can't remember. There was some way of making it financially easier for me, but they had to run my credit, and it got denied. And I'm like, it's probably the same thing because I haven't really. That's another thing. Most things were under my wife's name. I think I've built her credit. I've given her amazing credit. Yeah. Shit. Fucking, it's frustrating though.
Well, because really, other than the fact that you can't get rid of student loan debt, even with bankruptcy, and that when you die, your student loan debt gets passed on to your next of kin.
Yeah, fuck
if that already wasn't a dead giveaway to what a scam the system is, their answer, and this is a credit union, which is supposed to be better than your run-of-the-mill bank.
Right.
They're like, well, what a lot of people will do is they'll take out like a $500 loan, and they'll just pay it back 2 weeks later and just build their credit that way. And then over time, you'll eventually have a diverse credit history.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Right.
That, like, I get what you're saying, but if that's the solution, I mean, I guess I'll do it. Like, what the
I know.
fuck are we talking
I was
about?
too late. I should have done that again. I should have done that 20 years ago. I'm not doing it now.
It's so silly, dude.
Yeah.
And then, like, I was having there's this guy in town. Well, Pierce, the guy who did his show, the 505 Connection over at Tractor.
Oh yeah.
Pierce. Mm-hmm. So I had him on about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And we were talking about how bullshit the credit system is, and I had no idea that this was like a thing he's into, but he's a money and numbers dork. So he like broke it down how stupid the system gets. And I was just sitting here having my brain was melting out of my ears.
Yeah,
like,
mine would.
There's no fucking way it's this dumb. I understand why debt can be good for the acceleration of a business, acceleration of a product, right? You don't have capital now, so you get the capital, you give them a little profit afterwards on the back end, but now it's just ballooned in this fucking unsustainable system.
What I hate is, like, all I'm wanting is an opportunity to destroy my own credit and ruin my life the way that people used to. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like when I was younger, anyone could get a credit card or a car loan and fuck themselves. And they won't let me do it. I don't
This is America. Opportunity to fail is not being presented to me.
It's bullshit.
Dude, I was working this fucking bullshit, absolutely just retarded marketing company. So stupid. I hated it. There wasn't even a marketing company. Okay. It got pitched to me as a marketing company, as a social media marketing company that we'd help out small businesses do things. Like, oh, I like to learn that. That's cool. I'm just starting a podcast. This would be nice. Whatever. What it really turned out to be was it was a very nice pyramid scheme where we would basically sit out in front of like a Walgreens or a whatever with a table accepting donations, and we got 30% of the donations. It was fucking bullshit.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I bring this up.
Just begging.
Yeah, for real. It was professional panhandle.
Yeah.
It was fucking stupid. But anyway, I bring this up because we had a chick working with us, and she was wasn't older than 30. She was like 27, 28. And she goes, oh, I forgot how this even came up, but she was like, 3 years ago, I got diagnosed with a brain tumor. And they told me that I had 6 months to live. Then when I got reevaluated, they told me I had 4 to 5 tops. And so what she decided to do is she opened a fuck ton of credit cards. She took out a fuck ton of loans. Yeah. And she just traveled the world. Yeah. And she was showing me all these pictures from like Europe and Bali and Thailand and all these different places she went to. She's going on her trip. She's getting these monthly checkups done, and they're like, "Yo, your brain tumor's going away."
Because she had such an awesome time, she healed it. Now she's gonna get another tumor from the fucking stress of the debt. That's
I haven't thought of that.
yeah. That's always been I literally
She fucking. That's hilarious.
yeah. She's fucked now though. When was that?
Oh, it was in the middle of the pandemic. That was like
Okay.
February of 21.
Yeah, like
She had racked up like 300 G's worth of debt.
Yeah. That would be I would definitely do that too though.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
So I would do that. And then the moment, because obviously everything should be documented, right? The moment they're like, hey, your brain tumor's going away, we misdiagnosed you.
Oh yeah.
The fucking medical lawsuit.
Yeah.
I would.
Well, that's smart. Yeah.
Because you're already 300K into debt. Why not go 50 G's more into debt with a good lawyer?
Yeah. Yeah. And then just kill yourself if it doesn't
well, you know.
because you were expecting to die anyway. That was always my suicide plan. I was like, well, actually, I don't. That's too dark. I'm not going down that road.
Oh.
But I'll tell you what. Speaking of stress-induced illness, did I tell you about when I had? This is something we just. There's a terrible segue. No, it wasn't. It was okay. About 10 years ago, I got this. I self-diagnosed myself, but then it was confirmed by a doctor. I had this illness called LPR, which is also known as silent acid reflux, which sounds like nothing, but it's actually horrendous.
Well, the idea of acid reflux is horrible. That's why it sucks when it happens.
Yeah, and so with LPR, ironically, I can't think of what LPR stands for now, which is insane because I literally wrote a book about it. This is what happened to me. I developed this wheezing cough, and it was like really annoying. Like there'd be like a whistling, wheezing sound.
Lawful permanent resident, or
It's not that one. Although I am also that.
or Laryl or Laren.
That's the one. Jophageal.
It's better
Yeah.
with your accent.
Oh, I love that. God, this is why I'd never said it. Let's just call it silent reflux. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's a tough. That's a tough one.
But basically, the way acid reflux is very simple. It's just you have these esophageal sphincters, and for various reasons, sometimes they're supposed to shut when you're not eating, but sometimes they will miss dysfunction, and you'll get acid come up into your throat, and it burns your throat. The reason it's called silent acid reflux is you don't actually usually get the heartburn feeling. What you get, because instead of it being acid coming up, it's gases, pepsins. So it's like this acidic gas that comes up.
Oh,
so the only way you know you have it is you develop like throat issues. Like I got diagnosed with asthma, having never smoked and exercised my whole life, never having any issues breathing. I got diagnosed with asthma. They gave me an inhaler. And there's other weird, there's almost limitless symptoms that can be associated with it. But long story short, I was in permanent discomfort for about 2 years, and it was ruining my life. And for me, I had this cough. I could never sleep on my back. I still won't sleep on my back because I'm like traumatized from it. If I tried to sleep on my back, I would start wheezing. So I'd always have to sleep on my side, and I would get pain, not really pain, discomfort it would be constantly cycling through my body. I'd get mostly this tension in my diaphragm right here. Really, like it felt like you could take like a needle and pierce it, and it would be like, psh, just felt like all this pressure there. And then it would go away, and I'd get gut pain, and then I'd get my throat, basically like a lump in my throat. Like when you were little and you wanted to cry and you're trying not to, it would be like this throat pain. Anyway, dealt with it for a long time. I was Googling my symptoms, trying to figure out what it was. All I could find is there is no cure. You can try and manage symptoms. I'd go to like support groups and stuff, and it's just depressing. It's people going, I've had this for 10 years, my life is ruined. And I was completely just fucked. All I wanted was to hear somebody say, I had this and I healed from it. For reasons that I still don't understand, somehow I started to notice that over time, the more I worried about it, the worse it got. And what you'll do is, because a lot of people will say, oh, the root cause is like gut health issues. So you fuck with your diet. So I did every diet possible. I did, keto, high carb, vegan, carnivore, cannibal. Just kidding. But I literally tried. There's no diet I didn't try. There's no supplement I didn't try. Nothing helped. Nothing. And in fact, it seemed to make it worse because the more I focused on it, the worse the symptoms seemed to be. And every now and again, I'd go, fuck it. Nothing I do helps. And I'd go get like McDonald's. And every time I did it, I felt a bit better. Like every time. And over the course of, I don't know how long, I started doing this experiment where I just decided through like Jedi mind skills that I would, every time I would feel these symptoms, instead of spiraling into despair, I would tell myself, nah, fuck it, I'm fine. Like literally just lie to myself. I'd say, it's all bullshit, I'm fine. And this is a very short story version of what I did, but basically that's what I did. And then with it, before you knew it, for the first time in over 2 years, I was like, I don't feel any symptoms ever. And now I have a YouTube channel. I think it's called Eddie Stevens Training, because at that point I was trying to make money as a trainer as well. But I had all these LPR videos, which sort of went viral. And now it's insane to me. I literally made, I wrote a book. It's an ebook. Yeah. It's more like a pamphlet. But I literally did it because this is what I noticed. People who have this disease, it's not really a disease, it's stress-induced illness, okay? They all want their hand held. They all want you to help them. They basically, I still to this day get messages most weeks. Sometimes it's someone telling me like something awesome, like, I had LPR for 5 years after watching your videos. I haven't had any symptoms in 6 months. You have literally saved my life. It's fucking incredible. Sometimes they want to talk to me, and I've never asked for money, and anytime I've literally had like phone conversations with people who have this disease just to try and help them. But it's really tricky because it's anxiety induced. What I didn't say is when my wheezing cough started, it was when my dad went into a coma. He had a stroke, went into a coma. He was living in Portugal at the time. I had to fly out to Portugal. It was financially hard. It was like a nightmare. I stayed there as long as I could. I left. The day I left, he died. It was like, so like all this shit. And this is after years and years of just having plenty of issues with stress and anxiety. And my theory is that when you have this much stress, I don't want to say that all illness is caused by stress, but I'm very fucking tempted to say that it is.
Well, there's studies about it, first of all, but there's something to be said about the only organ that named itself and has deemed itself the most important. You know what I mean? It's such a simple analogy, but I think there's something to it. And there's recorded studies about people who can think their way into being sick.
Yeah, you think your way in, and then you have to think your way out.
Exactly. Like you're damaging, or not damaging, but like you're like suppressing your immune system, or like again, you can think yourself into obviously in varying degrees based on the person.
I do it all the time. Like
you can think yourself into anxiety attack.
Oh yeah.
You just think and think and think and think.
Yes. And that's it. And so the issue with LPR, everyone who has LPR, they're all the same. They all have a history of anxiety, stress. They're very sensitive. They're always very sensitive, like easily upset. They have a lot of self-doubt and all this shit. And what happens is you have these symptoms. You Google the symptoms. That makes it worse. And once you start having these symptoms, it becomes this horrible, vicious cycle where the stress caused the symptoms, but then you have the symptoms and you're stressed about the symptoms,
right?
Which creates more stress, and then the stress feeds the symptoms. And for a lot of people, they cannot get out of it. But like, sometimes someone will put on one of my videos, like very rarely, there's been a couple of comments where they're like, there's no way you could recover from this because blah, blah, blah. And I just delete it right away because it's like, it's not helping anyone. Everyone needs to know that. I never tell people this is it's all on you. You can fix it. Otherwise, but I just say, this is what I did, and it worked. And it's been like 10 years now, since I've had any of that. But even now, like when I get really stressed, I've started having this weird like neuropathy thing where my hands tingle a lot, and my feet tingle. I've been getting tension headaches in the back of my neck that scare the shit out of me. I did a leg circuit the other day. I was 2 reps away from being done with the last exercise, and my back of my neck felt like it was going to explode, and I like fell on the floor, and I was panicked. I was like, look, for some reason I started going, I'm sorry. I don't know who I was apologizing to, but I was just like, I'm sorry, please let me live. I was convinced I was going to die. I Googled that, and apparently that's actually quite common. If you have tension headaches, it can really fuck up a workout, and it happens to people all the time, but it's scary. But even with this, I started thinking I've got neuropathy, which is like, I don't know if you know about neuropathy, but basically it's just nerve damage where you can feel tingling or like numbness in your hands and your arms. And I've been having it for like a year now, but the more stressed I get, the worse it gets. And it's only recently that I used my fucking LPR method, and I'm like, I'm just like, nah, I'm not going to stress about it. Now it's kind of going away.
Have you looked into anything like, obviously it's not legal medically here, but like, ever looked into like how psychedelics help with stress, how ketamine therapy helps?
Yeah, and I'd be open to doing that. I mean, I've done just, recreationally, I've done shrooms and acid, and I mean, not like to the point where it's been years since I've done it. Actually, never mind. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'll get myself in trouble. But yeah, I'd be totally open to do stuff like that. But right now, I'm going deep because I've been working on myself. Listen, you're talking to a crazy person as well. You have to understand that. Like, we were talking about Alan Moore practicing like magic and stuff. I started doing that. I got into magic. Like, yeah, you're laughing, but I will cast a spell on you. No,
fucking jacked ass Harry Potter.
Yeah. Fuck. Oh man, I was trying to be like Alan Moore, but yeah. I'll tell you actually a really interesting story about this. I don't know how much time we have.
We got time.
The thing that got me most into Alan Moore, other than his comics themselves, is I heard this interview with him on. There's a guy called Nick Majerison who's in English. He was a radio DJ, and he had a radio show that he interviewed Alan Moore on, and it's a long interview where Alan Moore talks about how he got into magic. And when you listen to him, it becomes less silly. Because one of the things that Alan Moore says is, magic is much easier for people to accept once they realize it only happens in your mind. Okay? So, and it really just comes down to, if you practice any form of art, which are the arts, that's like the root of that in magic, you're creating something, right? So if you're a writer or a musician or a comedian, the miracle and the magic in that is that you're creating something from nothing. Where do your ideas come from? You don't even know. It's a rabbit out of a hat. It's impossible, but we're doing it all the time. Then you add the aspect of you are actually manipulating an audience. You're actually getting in their heads. You're controlling their minds. It's, you can take it pretty far.
It is like a weird hypnosis.
It really is.
Stand-up comedy. Yeah. If you're good at it. If you're good at captivating a room in the right way, and you're good at maintaining people's attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much, you put them under a spell. And by the way, spelling, writing, that was the original. You check out the Alan Moore. I think it's on, if anyone's listening, they could write it down, but I hope someone's listening. Nick Majerison, Alan Moore interview. It's like an hour and a half. It's scary to listen to at times because I have a friend who couldn't listen to it because it freaked him out too much, because Alan Moore starts talking about an experience he had with a demon, like encountering a demonic entity. But this interview is fucking great. Now, Nick Majerison, by the way...
I found it.
Okay, let me see. Does it have like a picture
parts.
of his face?
Yeah, it's in parts, but it's the Kerrang radio.
Kerrang, yeah. So okay. Kerrang was like a magazine. I don't know if they had it in the US, but
Alan Moore, Comics and the Occult 2007 interview.
Yeah, that is it. I'm sure that's it.
Okay.
It's, even if you think it's all bullshit, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Nick Margerison, I used to listen to his podcast. I've actually been on his podcast now, which is insane. Doesn't make any sense. But you could say that was a magical occurrence in itself. And this is, I had a very profound experience listening to Nick Margerison. So I was walking home from work. It's like a 20-minute walk from my house where I work. This is years ago now. It's night. It was like 11 o'clock at night. Summer, nice weather. I'm walking home. I'm listening to the Nick Margerison podcast. And he's talking about, he's doing it's like some live show where he's talking about different religions and spirituality and stuff like that. And I'm listening to it. It's interesting. And then a bat flew into my face, freaked me the fuck out. I went, what the fuck? And it I stopped listening. I had the headphones, my earbuds in, but I wasn't listening at that point. I was just like, it threw me off.
Now you're looking for stray bats.
So then I look at the moon. It's a full moon. And I just think to myself, and this might sound insane, but I'm looking at the moon and I'm aware that the moon is a very powerful thing, regardless of what you think the moon is, okay? You can see, we know historically that it's been extremely significant and important. People have worshipped the moon. Now, you have to understand, I live in two worlds, okay? I live in the rational, physical world, okay? I do. I have one foot in that world where gravity is a thing. The moon is round. The moon is orbiting the Earth. Yes, people have landed on the moon, all of that stuff. I 100% accept that. However, I also I have one foot in a spiritual world where I am convinced that this is not real. This is a spiritual experience that we're living. It's an explosion of spiritual energy. Every single thing that we're doing, everything we're experiencing is just the universe examining itself, exploring itself in a weird way. So when I'm looking at the moon, I'm thinking to myself, yes, we have these stories to explain everything, and it works great. However, there's another aspect to reality, and I'm getting a bit sidetracked, because all I was thinking when I was looking at the moon was, I wonder what the moon could be if it wasn't what we're told it is. Because again, I'm not all conspiracy theorist. I'm not. I accept, if there's enough information, I will accept it. However, I also know almost everything that we know is stuff we've been told. You can never really know anything. Everything can be a lie. It doesn't mean you have to go full on fucking tinfoil hat, but it is worth at least recognizing that we don't really know anything. Everything we're experiencing, I might not even be here. You might be insane. So you probably are. I'm looking at the moon and I'm like, what could the moon be if it wasn't what they tell us it is? When I said that, I thought that in my head, Nick Margerison in the podcast goes, and the moon, which is the home of the goddess Eris, that's where she lives, that's what the moon is. And he went on and just starts talking about the moon as this other thing. I rewound the podcast because I was like, was he talking about it? And I sort of subconsciously heard it. No. I had all those thoughts, and all of a sudden, Nick Margerison's voice answers the question. So then I'm like, the goddess Eris, what the fuck is that? Have you ever heard of the goddess Eris? So it's a goddess that has been in various religions. She's a goddess of chaos. And there was a religious group called, the fuck were they called? It's been so long since I've thought about this. Oh, God. Oh, it's gone. Anyway, basically a group of fairly recently, and by that I mean in the last sort of 60 years, a group of sort of philosophers and thinkers got together and decided to create their own religion. I think a lot of people have done that for fun, right? You create your own religion.
Shout out to Waco.
There you go. Yeah, you go. This wasn't quite as, well, we'll see. They got together just to do rituals and things like that as an experiment, see what happens. And they adopted this goddess Eris as their goddess. One of them said later, if we'd have known how well this was going to work, we probably would have adopted a nicer god. Because it's known for being, it's goddess of chaos, and it's cruel, and it does anyway, long story short, I started looking. Have you ever heard of sigil magic? This is almost along the lines of like vision boards and shit, right? So take it as bullshit if you like. But the way that a sigil works in this form of sigil magic is something you want to have happen. Let's keep it simple. Let's say you wanted a new dildo, yeah? You say, he would write down, I have a new dildo. That was a terrible example. I just looked at you and I thought maybe...
Gay.
Yeah. Okay, a new car. So I want a new car. So I would write down, I have a new car. You take those words, you cross out all the vowels till you just have the consonants. Then you cross out any repeated consonants. So I don't think there are any in this, but let's say there were 2 H's, I'd cross out one. You're left with those remaining consonants. You then draw them in a way that looks sort of occulty, because there has to be an element of the theatric to it, because this is how magic is done. You have to believe. So much of it is your intention. You create a sigil. You create like a little rune with these letters, and the more magical it looks to you, the better. And then there's different ways you can sort of carry out the spell or whatever it is. Some people do weird. Some people will masturbate onto it. Like, that's a legit thing. Some people cut themselves. I would always just burn it. So I was doing it as an experiment, okay? But I would only do it when there was a full moon. Because I've always had this obsession with the moon. I had this experience with the moon then, and since then it's only gotten more intense. For years I wanted to be, well, I used to think, I posted this recently, I was obsessed with Teen Wolf, and it was only recently I realized I was too old to become Teen Wolf, and now I have to be his weird dad that looks like a giant hamster. Do you know what I'm talking about? Google that, because it's ridiculous. But yeah, I would like literally under a full moon, I'd have this sigil, I would burn it, I would look at the moon, I would feel it, and it's too personal, a lot of it, but I have had ridiculous coincidences as a result of doing this. One of them, right after I found out my ex-wife had been fucking other guys. I started fucking somebody. I was fucking somebody else.
So I started fucking other guys.
Yeah. I found out who fucked her, and I fucked them. Which may have been their plan all along, to fuck their way to me. So anyway,
it's like a ladder in Mortal Kombat.
I'm the end of level boss or whatever, the big boss. So yeah, I found out she'd been fucking people. I started fucking this other girl. Then I went to the store. I went to Walmart, and all of a sudden I had to piss, like, immediately. And I remember thinking, that's weird because I just peed. And I was like, I feel like I'm going to fucking explode. I ran to the bathroom, and when I pissed, the only reason I didn't scream is there was people there. It was on fire. Like, my dick was on fire while I was pissing, and I was like,
Uh-oh.
Okay, I've got an STD. I don't know what kind, because I'm not experienced in this. I don't think I've never had one. And but it's undeniable. I'm like, and for the next day, same. I was like burning. It was interesting. I messaged my now ex-wife and this other girl that I was sleeping with. My ex-wife was like really aggressively like, well, then that's because of someone you slept with. Fuck you, blah blah blah. The girl I was seeing was really cool about it, which was weird, because on the one hand, I was like, fuck you to my ex-wife. To this other girl, I was like, thanks for being nice, but now I think that you're the one that gave me it, because you're being way too cool about it. Like, but anyway, I went and got tested, piss test. It came back negative. And I'm like, no, I should say, I did this sigil magic, and I was like, this is stupid, because I know I have an STD, but I did a thing to not have an STD. I was like, there's no way around it. I feel it. There's no way around it. So it comes back negative. I'm like, awesome, but it's still burning. So I went back and took another one. Came back negative. I don't remember the time frame, but I still had this issue. So I went back a third time, and they were like, well, the only way to be absolutely sure is we have to do the fucking swab. Have you had that done?
I haven't. I have had friends
you,
that
you
did.
made the right noise.
Yeah,
for someone
I've thought about that. I didn't know that was a thing until so I have a friend. I'm not going to say who it is because he may or may not have been on this podcast a few times. And
okay, we can figure it out from that.
We call him frequent flyer. We used to anyway. And because he fucking told me that. Yeah, dude, I had him draw my blood, and then I did a piss test, and they fucking put the thing in my dick. They put the what in your what?
I've had it done twice before. It is horrible.
Like, I've done STD testing before, and thank God I've come back clean. Never had symptoms. But I just did it to be safe.
Yeah. And if I didn't have symptoms, I wouldn't. It's not like I insisted.
Yeah. Please.
But they did it, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And it still came back negative. So then I just happened to be having a conversation with this guy in fucking Puerto Rico who I'd helped with the LPR, the illness I was talking about before. He was a guy that, like...
The last Puerto Rican.
Yeah, I said Puerto Rico. I don't know if it was... It was... Where was it? I probably offended him. It's one of those countries. And so he had been kind of a pain in my ass because, like a lot of these people, I'll tell them everything I know, and they'll keep asking me, and they keep asking me, and they keep asking me, and after a while, I'm like, I just can't keep telling you. That's why I made the ebook, because I was like, read that, and it's like $2 or something, Anyway, but I'm talking to him about it, and he just goes, "Oh, you got CPPS." I was like, "What?" He goes, "It's chronic pelvic pain syndrome. It's just like LPR. You get stressed, and it turns out there's this illness that I've never heard of ever, almost like I magically manifested it, called chronic pelvic pain syndrome. When you're under a lot of stress, you will have tension in your pelvic floor muscles, and it doesn't go away. You get chronically tight, and that puts pressure on your bladder and on your urethra. And he's like, you get a lacrosse ball or something, but literally like roll it on your taint.
Yeah, you have to okay, so a couple of chicks I had on the podcast a while ago, both very medically inclined, and they're explaining to me the importance from a female perspective, the importance of the pelvic floor. I never even heard the term pelvic floor, and they explained like the male side of it to me, and that was a part of it. I was like, oh,
crazy.
It can cause stuff like
erectile dysfunction,
burning ED,
check. Yeah. Just kidding. Wasn't able to get rid of that magically though. Took drugs. And so like I did that, and it's gone. Anyway. It's an interesting story in and of itself, and it was kind of cool that this guy that I'd helped was able to... Because if he hadn't told me that, I don't know if I'd have ever figured it out.
Right.
But, again, in my head, I was like, I did this sigil magic, and the STD I definitely had, I did not have. If that's not undeniable proof, I don't know what you want from me.
Well, it sounds like you didn't have the STD in the first place.
Well, I definitely didn't.
Yeah.
But that's how magic works. Transcends time and space. I'll find a way to justify it and make it real.
I was saying, maybe you were in a transitionary period that stressed you the fuck out.
No, I did. But that's the thing. There's always going to be a logical story for it. No, there is.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But there's the...
Like I said, I live in two worlds. It's both of them. I'm convinced.
Here's a part of that I want to take out or focus on rather, is that there is something, because religiously, spiritually speaking, I'm Christian, but there is something, because obviously there has to be hard work behind it, and there has to actually be action behind wanting something, but there is something to like, you have a goal, write it down, you get it done, you get it done quicker than you thought you would have, that shit actually happens. Rather than just be like, well, yeah, I kind of want to do this, or I kind of want to do that. Or it's like, because there's hard work and there's productive work. And there is something to like putting it out there. Like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to achieve whatever. I'm going to visit this place. I'm going to do whatever it is that you have your mind and your heart set on. There is something about making it tangible that actually makes it happen. I do believe, and that's where like, don't get me wrong, I think vision board is a little fruity, but the point behind it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works.
Yeah, exactly. The point, you're not going to see me with a vision board, but I write down my goals, which is like a more organized vision board, I guess.
Yes.
But like, there is something to all that.
Yeah. I just take it to a whole other level.
You're playing Scrabble and shit.
Yeah. Well, you know what? What was I going to say? Fuck. It's gone.
So we were talking about.
No, you won't be able to get it back.
No?
It's gone. Yeah.
That-
It was.
That train's not even on the tracks anymore, is it?
It's derailed. Fuck. It's gone. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's the kind of mad shit I've now remembered. So there is very much with sigil magic. A lot of people will say this, not just me. I haven't done it in a long time because there very much seems to be like a monkey paw problem. Do you know the monkey paw thing? It's like a story of I don't remember where it came from, but it's just a story of this magic monkey paw that if you own it, it'll grant you 5 wishes, and once it's gone through them all, you're done.
Is it like a rabbit's foot?
No, it's a monkey paw.
No, is that, well,
But
what's the
rabbit's foot's supposed to be lucky, but in this case, it's very much a magical monkey paw that will grant you every wish you want, 5 of them. But there's always a catch. So let's say you wish to be a millionaire, you inherit $1 million, but it's from someone you loved died, and you inherited it from. There's always some catch that makes it worse. That seems to have been my experience with sigil magic too. Hence the erectile dysfunction. Just kidding. My penis works fine. I want to just put that out there. Most of the time. Almost all the time.
I'm a crack shot for a 44-year-old, people. Listen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I'm not. Like I said, I feel that's the other thing in your 20s. If you're like worried about back pain, I used to have horrendous back pain in like my 20s and 30s, and I don't have it at all anymore.
Well, I know what my problem is though. Is I need to stretch more. Well, first of all,
see, I've been saying that for years, and I don't, and I'm still doing well.
like because I haven't been in the gym for like almost 2 months now, and it fucking sucks.
Why? Because of your back?
No, laziness. No, straight up. No, straight the fuck up. No, straight the fuck up. It was like I got super sick. I'm like 99%.
that'll fuck you up.
I'm like 99% sure I got COVID again because it wasn't like bad, but it just like wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm still like, because at first, like I used to get up until like fucking COVID happened. I used to get strep throat like every year around October. Every single year, like clockwork. I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, here it is. I get my penicillin or amoxicillin. I'm down for 3 days. I'm back up. We move on. Whatever. COVID comes around, I stop getting strep. I was like, all right, sounds good. But this last time that I got sick, it started out like strep. Like my throat was hurting, and I was like, okay, this is it. It's coming back. Fuck, okay. But then I went and got tested, and they were like, this is fucking nothing. And I think I got tested a little too early for COVID because they tested COVID, came back negative, and they're like, look, here's this and this. You'll be fine. It is a viral infection. We know that much. And I was like, okay, either it really is a viral infection or you're just lazy. You want to call it a viral infection and just hope that it goes away. And, I'll be back eventually, maybe. Anyway, yeah, so like for 2.5 weeks, almost 3, I was just like, even when I felt better, I was just still congested, just blowing out fucking like Ninja Turtle slime. And I'm like, fuck, dude, what is going on? And then after that, I just got lazy, and I kept being lazy. And then I was like, I'm focusing on stand-up. Like, yeah, but I'm getting fat, so I don't want to be a fat comic. I don't, because I'm already a hairy comic. Fat and hairy is not my personality, and I love working. I'm just being real. Yeah. And I love being in the gym. I honestly, if we're completely transparent, I miss being on a test so fucking much because I actually a couple of years ago I went and got my blood work done for the first time, and because I'd always struggled with a bit of anxiety, but it was mostly depression.
Yeah.
And as I it started growing into my 20s, I was like, oh, okay, there's something like actually wrong.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
and then, so you went on TRT?
So yeah.
How long for?
Yeah, so I went to get my blood work done at first. And, guy my age, I was 24, 25 at the time. Or 23, 24 at the time. I'm supposed to be, and this is the healthiest I'd ever been at this point too, strict diet and training all the time. And I was getting my stuff done, like when I started gaining weight back and stuff like that. I was supposed to be at great levels. I fucking get my blood work done for the first time, and it comes back at 215.
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so generally speaking, I think it starts to taper off when you're like 38, 39. But healthy guys between the ages of like 18, 38, 39 should be at 600 to 900 nanograms per deciliter.
Yours is way down there.
Yeah, and so when you're below 300
Yeah.
is when you're considered low T.
So how long were you on it for?
So I'll get there.
Is that why you're so hairy?
So no, I've always been. That's called Mexican genetics, man. Anyway, so I ended up getting tested again a couple weeks later, and it actually drops. Get tested again a couple weeks later, and it drops again. And they're like, then they started like, because they were like screening me for low tests, like, hey, like, how's your sleep? How's your diet? Or do you take any opiates? Have you been addicted to opiates? Have you ever taken steroids? I guess opiates really tank your test levels. Yeah. And like, have you taken steroids? Have you ever taken anything that might have hormone boosting compounds? I was like, nope. And so I got tested again for the last time, and it was at like 178, 175.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was bad. And then they're like, okay, well, you're starting on fucking test.
Yeah, you would have to, I guess.
Yeah, and so I
Because
started.
mine, just when I went in there, they said it was on the lower. I very much felt like they were like, they just want to sell it to you.
Yeah.
Because when I like Googled it, I was like, it seemed pretty healthy.
Do you remember
to
what the
me.
number was?
I can't remember.
No, okay.
I wish I could.
Because mainly what they test you for on a basic level is your testosterone, free testosterone, and your hematocrit. And so your hematocrit is basically the iron level in your blood. Because if you have too much free testosterone, like whatever, if you have too much free testosterone flowing around in your bloodstream, and you have too much iron, what'll happen is basically like it binds, it'll bind together too much, and your sex hormone binding globulin goes up, and that leads to a high hematocrit, which means thick blood, and that's why you see like a lot of bodybuilders that literally drain their blood.
I just I donated blood recently.
So that's a hack for a lot of bodybuilders.
I know.
Yeah, and so they'll do that to keep their hematocrit level.
See, and I just thought it would be I just did it for health reasons. I don't think I needed to. Actually, I take that back. I had a checkup, and actually, no, it was the TRT guy. He said my blood pressure was not scary high. It's not like he had to freak out about it, but he recommended donating blood to help with it. Mm-hmm. And when I went to get it, but to donate my blood, the chick there, she said something that was like, I thought was really smart. Actually, she described it as an oil change. She goes,
I was about to say, that's how it's been described to me too. Yeah.
She goes, yeah, for men, you need to get an oil change because women get one every month. And I was like, oh, that's true. Women bleed every month. It's probably really good for them. We just keep the same shitty blood.
Yeah, that's exactly how it's explained to me. Not the woman part of it, but yeah. That's the exact way it's explained to me too. Is like you just get in your body, just refuels itself, and you're good to go.
So yeah, I'm going to try and do that more often.
Yeah, so anyway, so I ended up getting on test through the VA, and they frankly, like, they were helping me, but they weren't giving me enough, and they were doing it in a very poor way. I just dove into it. Yeah. I was like, how much can I learn?
Yeah.
And how quickly can I learn it?
Yeah.
Like, what's the basics with it? I'm doing everything from like deep diving into fucking like research papers to asking my friends that are actively on gear, right? I'm trying to figure out like what the fuck should I do? And one of the common denominators that I found was that you do not want to do big dosages at one time spaced out, because what will happen, and I found this through my own personal experience with the VA, because they ended up giving me 200 milligrams a test every 2 weeks, but all at once. So what would happen is they would pin it, and then about 24 hours later, I'm all the way up here coasting, and then 7 days starts to go down. By day 13,
Terrible.
I'm a fucking zombie. 12, 13, I'm a zombie. So then I was like, yo, can I fucking do this shit? Oh, and then the second time, so I've always been afraid of needles. But I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I need to fucking get over myself. I'm a grown man. This is going to help me. So they're like, hey, you have two options. You can fucking keep coming here, or we can just give it to you to take home with you, and we'll show you how to do it. And as I learned, and this is the worst way to do it, they had me pin my quad.
Yeah.
Dog. First of all, I tried to do it myself. I almost passed out.
Really?
A. A. B, the second time I went, she did it by herself. The nurse, she's like, okay, 1, 2. She's like, relax your leg. I was like, and I relaxed it. It was 1, 2. I literally, when she pins me, I feel the needle go through the like ripples through the I'm like, ah!
Yeah.
Fuck that. That's why people do their traps. That's why they do their fucking delts. That's why they do their ass.
Yeah, your ass.
Because fuck that. So
I don't know if I
anyway,
could reach, though. I'm not very flexible.
it's surprising how flexible you can get in the moment. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
Like, so then anyway, so, you know, I was like, oh, the best way to do it, like, especially if you're doing, like, 'cause I had no intention of, like, blasting. I have no intention of doing that. So really what it looked like was I never did sub-Q, but apparently sub-Q is one of, if not the best way to do it if you're doing low levels. Where you're doing the subcutaneous into the fat of your belly. But anyway, so not to get too in the weeds, but I found other resources
Yeah.
and started doing it on my own.
Yeah.
And again, I ended up doing 200 mgs a week, sustained that for a few months, and I felt fucking awesome.
Yeah, especially, I mean, if you got low test already, I mean, my God,
And I got my
game changer.
got my blood work done. I was at like 825, 850 cruising. My other blood levels, like my like they checked my lipids, they checked my fucking
Everything was
estrogen
good?
count. Everything was good. The only thing that was concerning was that because when I asked what had happened when I was on the test with the VA, my hematocrit started getting a little high. But when I got it done through my other methods, and I got my blood test done again, they were like they given me like my case was so strange. The head of the endocrinology department was heading my case, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. So I go get my blood work done. She calls me, and at this point we were friendly with each other. She calls me first name basis. She goes, Noah, call me back. I felt like the principal just called me. You know what I mean? She was like, hey, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm good. She goes, oh, yeah, I bet you're great. So what have you been doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, your levels are amazing,
Yeah.
but they're not accurate for what we've been giving you. So what's up?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she goes, and God bless the lady. We had a real conversation because she was like, look, I cannot tell you what to do with your life. However, if you keep doing this, we cannot continue covering you because you're not doing our thing.
Right.
And I was like, okay, but like I'm in a better spot than I am right now than what you guys gave me. And she was like, I'm really sorry.
Because they just can't.
Yeah, because their whole thing, because their clientele are mostly old people, right? So then it's like they can't give you more than 400 mgs a month, which is insane.
Yeah.
Which is fucking insane. But so now that I've got a little more money in my pocket, I got a better job. I'm gonna start looking at like individual clinics.
Yeah.
Like there was one out in Austin.
I mean, there's online clinics.
Yeah, and there's one out in Austin that I actually shot a podcast things. They have, of course, it's Austin, so everyone has a podcast studio.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to the lady up front about the programs that they have, and they do telehealth. So I was like, I'm going to get a price point, see what it looks like. Because I don't want a lot. You know what I mean? I just wanted to sustain myself. Because I was like, because now that I'm out of the military, like I'll smoke before I go to bed. You know, and maybe like last night I had fucking, do you know AJ De Leon? I had him over and Jake came over and we were doing some writing and I got smoked a little bit then, but like mainly I just smoke at night so I can help sleep better. But my sleep was fucking off the charts.
That's what I need.
When I was on TRT.
I don't know what's going on with my sleep. Like,
well, it's something, again, I'm not a doctor.
I got into a habit of drugging myself to sleep. And then I broke the habit for a while. And then I can't even remember what happened, but I'm back in the habit of needing to I'll take Benadryl. I'll take whatever just to knock me out.
Yeah, that's a real issue. That's a real problem.
But I've resolved it before, and I'll resolve it again.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, but it's something. I'm not a doctor, but it's something to do with your circadian rhythm. It just gets it back into motion because your hormones are balanced out again.
I think for me, it's just I need to start having a somewhat consistent sleep schedule.
Yeah,
because I'm fucking all over the place. I'm like sometimes I'm up till fucking 3 a.m, and sometimes I'm exhausted, and I try to go to bed at like 10. I mean, it just depends. But I will always wake up early. That's the problem. No matter how late I go to bed, I'll wake up tired. I need to get some blackout. It might just be my fucking curtains because I've got my house, my bedroom window faces the east. So every morning the sun is coming up and coming straight in because I have these shitty blinds.
Yeah, you can't fight that.
Yeah,
your body's telling you, "Hey, daytime, bitch, get up." Shit. Dude, blackout curtains will change.
I'm gonna get some tonight.
Do it, dude. It's worth it. It's worth the time.
Yeah.
Like I literally I've got I've got little fucking hooks in here, but in my bedroom, I've got 2 fucking nails and a rod. And I'll literally, like, cause those are the only blackout curtains I have right now because I'm lazy. So I'll just take that. Like, when we get done with, like, later tonight before I go to bed, I'll take those off the rack, just put them in my bedroom, and knock out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is I'm under so much. I've had chronic stress for so long now because I was thinking about it. Things weren't great before my marriage ended, but I legitimately lost my mind when I found it.
But that's a real statement, though. Like, that happens to people.
Yeah, and I have never fully recovered. And since then, I've had other issues. So it's just I've always got this shit on my mind. I think that is what has been causing most of my problems.
Are you someone that's open to, like, therapy, psychologist?
So I'm finally going to therapy now. I think it helps, but I'm such a psycho because like the other day I went in and I was chewing gum. And the first thing she said was, "Would you mind spitting your gum out for me?" I was like, "Okay."
You sound like a fucking Third Reich therapist.
Yeah, is that weird?
Yeah, it's fucking
so
weird.
You're the second person that's agreed that's weird.
That's fucking strange.
It was last week, and I haven't been able to let it go.
Yeah, because that's supposed to. Like, again, I'm not fucking super. I'm not hyper like liberal.
No.
Like feelsy, But therapy's supposed to be a safe space for you, dude.
Yeah, I'm like, I kind of want to ask her, is it do you have any issue? Like, does it like drive you crazy? In which case, she should have said, "Sorry, I got like a weird, like, whatever you call it, audio sensory issue with people chewing gum." Yeah, but I literally put the gum in because I'd been drinking coffee. I did it for her. I was like, I'm gonna chew some gum when I go in.
Yeah, that's fucking stupid. I will say this though, funny therapist story. So I was seeing one for a while after me and my chick had split. I had some shit I needed to sort out. And nice guy. But I felt like after about 3 to 4 months, it had transitioned from like... Because the big thing that I found out about therapy while I was overseas, because I saw a behavioral health specialist while I was overseas, and the way she explained it to me was great. She goes, I'm not here to fix your problems. I'm here to present you with a wide variety of tools, and you get to pick which tools fit your toolbox best, and you apply it to your life in your own time. I'm just here to present you with tools and then help guide you toward the results you want. That's all therapy is.
Yeah.
At any level of it. Plus or minus religion, plus or minus whatever, right? Anyway, so I found a therapist stateside and good dude. But after like 3-4 months, it kind of transitioned from like something that's really helping me to me being like, all right, I got to find something to complain about. You know what I mean? It's something to bring to things. There are
like,
days.
What are we doing here?
Yeah. That's why I showed up where I was like, no, I'm kind of chilling. Like, I've been working what we're working on, and I've been doing this and that.
Yeah.
This is.
I had that. So I've had a few therapists before. First, I had this French guy who was like crazy and made me like use Play-Doh, like to express how I felt. I was like,
well, art therapy's a thing, not for everybody.
So, but with this, like, I literally pretended that I was fine, so that I didn't have to go. I just told him, I just don't have any issues. I feel great.
That therapy might have worked.
No, it definitely did not.
You gotta lie to yourself, say that you're fine. So you have to be a child.
Yeah. But I did that, and then I had another therapist, but this was right. So my ex-wife, we were separated for a year before it fully ended.
Right.
It's complicated, but I was so fucking happy during that year. So that's when I started getting therapy with this other one, and I genuinely was like, I don't think I need therapy. I'm like, I'm having a great life. Also, I kind of wanted to fuck her, and I don't think that was good.
Like Tony Soprano.
I've never seen The Sopranos.
What the
But I guess I knew about the therapist, yeah. But anyway, then I had tried another therapist who seemed to be like, listen.
That therapist wanted to fuck me.
Well, I would hope so. But like, I assume so. But no, she was scared. She seemed really nervous. And by the way, I talked to her the way I'm talking to you. I'm not aggressive. I'm not unstable. I mean, other than the magic thing, I haven't said anything crazy. I wasn't like, I don't think there was anything about me threatening, but she just seemed really uncomfortable with me. And I can't even remember how that ended. I think I just was like, just stopped going.
Well, it's funny you say that. That's exactly how was my last one. Because, again, very nice guy. But, he was in his late 60s.
Yeah.
We did meet in the late afternoon, had a warm office, and I shit you not, one time he fucking fell asleep on me.
That's amazing.
He fell, and I've been trying to figure out how to work that into a bit.
Yeah. Oh, you definitely can. Yeah.
He was sitting there, and he did like after your grandpa has a plate and a half at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
He was listening, like eyes open, drinking water, like whatever, just listening. He goes. And then he caught himself at one point.
Yeah.
And then whatever. Okay.
I don't blame him. If I was a therapist, I would definitely fall asleep.
Yeah.
During,
right.
But you can't do it.
Right. And so I was like talking to him about something. I forget what the fuck I was talking to him about. And so I didn't say anything when he caught himself because he got very red.
Yeah.
You know. So I didn't say anything. I'm not gonna like pour salt in the wound.
Yeah.
But then he finally does the.
Oh God! Did you just creep out of the room?
So I was trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and I didn't want to be a dick, but this was definitely dickish.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I was like, long night, huh?
Yeah.
Doesn't move a muscle.
Yeah.
And so I just sat there. Yeah, so I just sat there like, is the fucker dead? I stared at him, and his chest is going up and down.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, he's good.
Okay.
So I just sat there, dude.
How long?
Probably 2 minutes.
Okay. That's a long 2 minutes.
2 minutes can be.
Yeah.
If we just sat here for 2 minutes, it's just gonna fucking.
I wouldn't make it.
Yeah, it's bad. And then he finally he goes. Oh, I am so sorry. And I was like, hey, yeah, and I was like, hey man, listen, don't even worry about it. It's cool.
Yeah.
And the real issue that I had, not even that, the bigger part about it was before the session before. I had told him, I was like honest with him. I was fucking there he is. Oh. Are you guys related? No. So like the session beforehand, I had told him straight up. I was like, hey, I'm not exactly convinced I need to keep coming here anymore.
Right.
And he goes, why not? And I'm like, well, I just said a little earlier, I was like, I just feel like I'm complaining the whole time. I got to be honest, man. Life is good. I know it's never going to be perfect, but I like where it's at. And quite frankly, I feel like in the 48 hours leading to this session, I'm just trying to figure out something to complain about so I can justify sitting here for an hour and paying a $50 copay. Mm-hmm. I'm just being completely honest with you, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like I need this. But then his answer is what killed it for me. His answer was like, okay, so how do you feel about complaining? And I'm like, no, I didn't say it, but I'm like, no, bitch. That's not what I'm saying. I'm actively saying that I don't want to come in here and complain. Your answer is not, how do you feel about complaining? Like, no, bitch. I'm telling you that I know how I feel about it. I just told you. I don't like being a complainer.
Yeah.
Let alone paying you so I can... If I want to fucking complain, I'm going to complain to my friends.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So anyway,
that's the free therapy that you get.
Yeah.
With
So
friends,
when that happened, the last time, I was like, "Hey man, listen, I get it." I was like, "Hey man, I get it. I'm a little boring. Whatever." No, and he kind of chuckled to himself. Like, no, seriously, like, I haven't been feeling this. I think this is a sign. And I had chosen to see him.
There's something really intimate and scary about telling a therapist you don't want to see them anymore.
Yeah, it's a weird breakup.
Breaking up with
it's
them.
a weird breakup, and I had chosen, part of the reason I had chosen him, other than like the years he had been doing it, was because he had centered his practice around the Christian faith. So, and I was like, okay, I do need some of that in my life right now. I do want to realign with that. So I'll go this. And I was like, look, man, maybe it's a sign from God, maybe it's not, but I'm just gonna go ahead and I don't feel like this is necessary for me. Thank you for the help. And I just fucking stepped out and I told the receptionist, like, hey, fucking same card. All right. She goes, you want to book for next time? I'm like,
nah.
Not really, honestly. She goes, oh, what happened? Is there anything that we could do better? I'm like, honestly, I think this has ran its course.
Yeah.
You guys are great.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, how long do we do this for? Is this forever?
Well, I think it's another form of medicine, right? It fits people differently.
Right.
Like, for instance, I have family members that go to therapy on a regular basis, and the way they see it, and it's healthy for them, right? The way they see it is, I like going to therapy. I have a good therapist. And
Yeah.
whenever stressors do come up, it's not like we have to restart or some season for the first time. They've known me for so
I
many
will say this
years.
about, I mean, the therapist I have now, yes, the chewing gum thing bothered me, but she is, I mean, for one thing, I'd been trying to get this one specific therapist for years because a friend of mine goes to her and she'd always told me that she thought she would be really good. She would always tell me how great this therapist is. And she's like a crazy, like, shamanic witch woman, which is right up my alley. And like you wanted the Christian therapy, I wanted a.
So she's got fucking shrunken heads and she's yelling at you about chewing gum.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. But she's also like former military. You wouldn't think.
Oh, okay.
Like she doesn't have any of that stuff.
Oh, okay.
But she's also very. What I like is she's very open-minded. It's like I tell her about my shit and the things that I say that I would expect someone to be like,
Right.
She's just like, that makes perfect sense. So
Right. Well, that's what you need in a therapist.
yeah,
you
but
need to feel comfortable
and
opening
that's
up
the thing.
those caverns. in
I've
your
told
brain.
her shit about me that I haven't told anybody.
Yeah.
And I do feel comfortable telling her
Good.
my darkest secrets.
Good.
So that is good. And she does, with other therapists, I always feel like, it's just like when I talk to any doctor, I kind of feel like I'm talking to an idiot a lot of the time. And I almost like I'm talking to a child. I have to like, other therapists, I felt like I had to help them through it in a way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And every time they would say stuff, I could always kind of see what they were doing.
That's how I felt about the VA
I could tell.
shrinks.
Yeah. But with this chick, I definitely get the impression that she knows what she's doing and she is the expert. And I'm kind of listening. She'll say stuff and I'll go, huh, yeah, that makes sense. That's all I want. Yeah. And it has helped me a little bit. I
think. Well, I don't think.
But I've only had like 4 sessions.
Yeah, see, I was gonna say from my experience, and I think from a lot of the people too I've spoken to about this, it's a slow burn. You know,
And that's
what
what
I mean?
she says.
Like you
Yeah.
can't, it's not one of those things where you can fucking, if you do it 5 times a week, that's equivalent to 1 time a month.
Right.
Because you need to have real life experience
Yeah.
that supplements each session. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
you
that's
need to-
another issue though. Like I have homework that I'm supposed to do basically, but I don't do it. I can't. Even like easy shit, and it's going to help me. And sometimes I just don't think of it.
It's like make your bed. Oh fuck.
Exactly. So with her, sometimes she'll tell me to do something, and I'm like, that's a great idea. I'll do that. And then it will be the day before, and I like try and cram it. It's like she wanted me to meditate every night, so I'll meditate for 10 hours the day before. I'm enlightened now.
I called out for work for this.
Yeah. She cancelled on me this week, though.
They got lives too.
Bitch.
Shit
Just kidding.
happens.
No shit. Yeah, no, it's good.
That is I have thought about that before because there are people that stick onto one therapist, and maybe it's just how my brain works. But there's people who stick onto a therapist or a psychologist for years and years and years and years, and then obviously there's a relationship that forms. There's a bond there, right? There's some sort of attachment, right? At least at a bare minimum from the patient side of things. I can't imagine that can be too healthy if the person either dies or retires.
At some point it's got to end.
It's going to end.
Yeah.
Just like every other relationship that you have in your life, it will end. So I can't imagine putting that much psychological, like, not dependency, but like a level of like anchoring. Like, okay, this is the port that I'm going to return to every week or every 2 weeks or once a month or whatever it is. I return back to this place to like realign the compass, make sure this ship is on the right path, and we go out again.
Right.
At some point, you got to learn how to do that for yourself.
Well, I do, and my thing is, it's so clear to me what my issue is.
Okay.
That
You're better off than most.
Yeah.
Not for nothing, but you're better off than most.
And that's why I could never do therapy before, is I just was like, I'm miserable. I have no idea why. Now, because of all these experiences I've had, it's very clear to me what the issue is and what needs to be done. It feels impossible to deal with, but at least there is a path now.
Well, it's like eating a steak. Maybe you can do this because you're a fucking monster, but most people got to chop it up into pieces and eat it. You can't.
I definitely chop up.
You can't
just swallow it whole.
You can't just grab the whole steak and eat it. You know what I mean? So it's repetition. It's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think for most people it's a good thing. I think there's a lot of people where I think it's like any medicine. Oh, I mean, I used to have like penicillin and like shit like that, but like it doesn't apply to everybody. Not every remedy is going to work for every. There are people that are allergic to penicillin. There's people that are allergic to the flu vaccine and shit like that. Like it's just not going to fucking work out for them. But you know, I think there's different forms of therapy. Right, and a lot of times it's like you're putting a square into a circle-shaped hole. You know what I mean? But then when you figure out the one that fits for you, it flows better.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's worth sticking with for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
what the fuck do I know?
I don't know. Why am I listening to you?
I'm a 26, 27-year-old guy.
I'm 44.
That's trying to figure out his life.
If you haven't been able to figure out by now, I've really got my shit together. So. Shit.
How much time do you spend writing? Like comedy writing?
So I used to write all the time. The last few years, barely anything. Like, and that's something I'm changing now. I'm like, today I went for a run in the Bosque. I chafed my thighs to pieces. It's hot. Like, I don't understand it. I run 3 times a week in the Bosque. Same trail, same clothes, same body. And yet today I have got like right up in my thighs near like my taint, the skin is just torn away. I don't know what happened, but it's agony. Anyway, I went for my run, chafed my thighs, and I run in the Bosque, you know, on Alameda, down by like Corrales, and there's a Flying Star there, so I'll always go to Flying Star after. So I went there and I did
Flying Star is overpriced as fuck these days, but it's still good.
Yeah, it's good. And like, it kind of sucks because my ex-girlfriend and I used to run together. Like every Monday we would run in the Bosque and then we would both go to Flying Star together. It hasn't been as high. I thought, I was scared. I was like, fuck, she's ruined that now. I don't get to do that. Because I was running in that area of the Bosque for years before I even met her. Luckily, it hasn't been that hard. It doesn't feel that weird running by myself because I would often run by myself as well anyway. And then going into Flying Star, I've got used to it. But yeah, I had my laptop. Worked on some writing. So I think that's going to be my routine now, is at least 3 times a week I'm going to run and I'll always get some writing done after that. And then I'll probably, as I get more into stand-up, because I'm just sort of refocusing now. I'm going to have to start doing, because I used to write fucking every night like a maniac. And for me, it's such a game changer. It's almost like every single time I sit down with an idea and I write it, and I do it on my laptop, I don't use a pen, so I sit and type, I will always get I will either come up with a new thing, a new bit altogether, or I will find a way to make a bit better. There's always something. It's never just for the sake of it. I always get something out of it. And actually, also going to the Bosque, I'll run to the end of this trail. It takes me about 20. I don't go for crazy long runs. It'd be like 20, 25 minutes. And then I walk back, and it takes a long time to walk back. And when I'm walking back is when I think shit through. And similarly, there's never been a time where I haven't resolved something out there in the Bosque. I would never run on a treadmill. I don't even, if I have to, I'll run on the street. But when you've got nature there, it's not the same thing.
That's how it's supposed to be. There's something to that.
It's the difference between working out and having a profoundly lovely experience.
Well, you're supposed to. I mean, again, I'm not a super hippie guy, but you're supposed to connect to nature when you're out there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like I understand it to a point, but like people that bring music out to the beach, when you're just laying on the beach, like, nah, dog, like, come on. You can listen to music wherever you want. Yeah. Fucking listen to these little fucking kids yell. Listen to the ocean crash. Listen to the fucking seagulls. You know.
No, I agree.
But there's something to that where you're supposed to.
But so many people will say they hate cardio.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're on a treadmill at your gym. Like, I would hate that.
Yeah.
That would suck. Like, I do it if I have to because you need to get that done. But it's just like I said, if I love running so much, if I could get the benefits of lifting weights just from running, I'd just do it every day. I love it.
See, I hate running outside. I like hiking. Yeah. Like, and that's because, well, it's a love-hate thing, hiking, because the military definitely ruined that for me.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I like doing that with like, guy friends, for sure. Because it's like, shared suffering is a real thing.
Yeah.
That's fun. But I will say this: I prefer running on a treadmill because I hate running in general. Never been a fast runner,
So you just like to get it done.
so I like to get it done. And I know that and I haven't done this in a while because my cardio's gone to shit. Because I had a hernia surgery around this time last year, and my fucking cardio just went to shit after that.
I've had that.
But I will say this, and this happened. This formed around like my high school years. I liked doing the treadmill because I knew how long it was going to take me to complete my distance.
Yeah.
And if I fall, it's going to fucking hurt. So I have to keep up.
Hey, I've fallen in the basket and it fucking hurts.
So I have to keep up.
Fair enough.
So that was always my mindset.
Yeah.
It's like outside, I can just kind of like slow down and stop. On this, if I don't keep my pace, I at least have to dedicate 5 seconds to lowering the speed, or I'm gonna eat shit. So it was the fear of that really just kept me fucked. I'm not even making that up.
Yeah,
Like, that's what kept me
that
going.
makes sense. I mean, whatever works.
It helped me pace. That was a
Yeah,
big
whatever
thing,
works
too.
for you.
Yeah.
For me, I don't have an issue with that, and I've been running the same trail for no shit, probably 15 years now.
That's awesome.
And literally, there's a point. I used to be much bigger than I am now. It's funny, I never considered myself overweight because I was lifting weights. No one would have ever said he's fat. No.
Yeah.
But when I look at pictures of me I was like 270 or something. I was massive. And I'm only 5'10". So I was like, and like I was lifting a lot of weight, but
That's a natural 272.
yeah, but it was a lot of fat.
Okay.
It was, I think because I don't put fat on my face
Yeah.
and I had big shoulders, you kind of couldn't tell. But I went from that down to like 190. That's the lightest I've been in the last 20 years. Right now I'm like 200 even, but it's pretty lean.
It's a solid 200.
Yeah, and which is where I like to be.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'd like to be a little bit leaner and be like 196. Seems weird. That's my sweet spot. At 196 is when I feel the best, and I don't feel like I sacrifice a lot of strength. But anyway, I remember when I first started running in the basket, I hadn't played rugby in a few years. That's why I'd put on so much weight, because my diet was terrible. I used to not pay any attention to my diet at all. I would get high. I've never been like a pothead. Now I can't smoke weed at all. It beyond anxiety. It's horrendous. I hate it. Mm-hmm. But back then, like 15 years ago, I would smoke weed most nights and just eat just everything. I would eat so, and it was like that was my self-destructive thing. Like I'd get high and I would eat chips and ice cream and fucking everything you shouldn't eat.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
And nobody ever got high and wanted salmon.
No.
Actually,
exactly.
that's not true.
I could eat some sushi when high.
I take that
I've
back.
eaten a lot of sushi.
I did that 2 nights ago. Just kidding.
Okay. Yeah,
but
generally, you'd rather you'll have
stoner.
some salmon, but also some Cheetos.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's still a spot on the trail that I remember as I breeze past it that was the furthest I could run when I started. And it's like fuck, I'm barely getting warmed up. That's where I used to quit.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's the reason that everyone should track everything they do with their workouts. So when you come up with a workout plan, you need to have a diary. You need to write down how much you're lifting, the reps. And then the next week when you do that same workout, you get one more.
Yep.
And you just never stop. And even at 44, do you know what? It trips me out. I have a little hack. If I get to a point where I'm plateauing and I don't feel like I'm quite getting enough, I switch my exercises.
Well, that's you build more muscle memory.
And it's and then whatever I go into, I keep increasing.
Yeah, Rich Piana used to say you got to confuse the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny, at 44, it's like I don't think I can. There was a time when I was really focusing on bench, and I can't remember how much I benched. My goal, I really wanted to get 405. I wanted to have 4 plates on each side, 4 45-pound plates. And I was doing it with my friends, and I think I got up to like 390, 395 maybe. I was so close, but because I'd been benching so much and I prioritized it so much, I was starting to have shoulder pain.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I was like, I am not going to risk any more weight. I feel like something's going to fucking snap. And right now I'm not at that level, but I'm doing 315, the 3 plates for reps.
Nice.
So, and that's my thing. As I get older, I have a whole plan. Like once I get so for my 40s, I'm it's still like bodybuilding. I think I can still look and feel jacked. 50s, I'll focus a bit more on just strength, maintaining that strength, old man strength. 60, I'm going full yoga guru. Like
I was waiting for
yogi.
you to say I'm going to start blasting Tren.
Oh,
into
God,
my 60s.
shit, no. I mean, maybe, not Tren. I don't think I would ever do Tren. The TRT thing is interesting, though, because part of me is like, it makes sense to do it, that it would help as you get older. But on the other hand, it's like, they say, oh, once you get into your 30s, your testosterone drops. And it's like, however, it's supposed to. And when you're in your 30s, yes, your testosterone drops. You could still beat the shit out of yourself when you were 15. And when you were 15, your testosterone's really high. It's about getting to where you once you're at that point, you don't necessarily need the higher test.
Well, and bear with me, the world we live in right now, people are questioning statistics, right?
Right.
And I'm really starting to think that, like, because I've heard that too. I talked about it a little earlier. It was like, oh, when you're 38, it drops off. Okay, but if you're basing that off the average American, and then you also look at these studies, so I was like, okay, well, what's the average American diet?
Yeah, no, exactly.
And it's like,
and what's the average American lifestyle?
Exactly. So it's like, okay, well, what was, what could your average what could your testosterone be if you take care of yourself?
Right. And that's why I focus more on how I feel and how I'm performing.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
The body will tell you when it's not liking what you're doing. Like, there are some people.
And like, sometimes I feel like shit.
Well, right, but think about it like this, right? Let's say you're somebody, for argument's sake, or even me. Let's say I'm somebody that I love the taste of steak. I love steak. However, for whatever reason, the genetic makeup that I have, the genes in my body, the fucking my family tree, whatever, for whatever reason, whenever I eat steak, no matter what on paper the nutritional value is, no matter what it should be doing for my body, every time I eat steak, I just shit my pants. It just clears right through me. My body does not want it. Maybe, for whatever reason, I'm not built to eat steak.
Right.
But if I eat fish or if I eat chicken, it's perfectly okay. You know what I mean? It's like the body will let you know what works and what doesn't work for itself. If you eat something and you just get bloated beyond capacity, maybe you ate too much. That's a real possibility.
Yeah.
Or maybe your body's inflaming because it doesn't like what you just fucking put in it.
Yeah. And then the flip side to that is, I can handle dairy, no problem. And yet, because some people say, like, oh, dairy's bad for you. Well, it's like, well, it's not bad for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything bad. I mean, like, I have to be careful because there's a lot, like cheese, for example, there's a lot of calories in it if I care about that. But, like, I drink protein shakes. I can drink milk.
If you get taken out by milk, you're a bit of a pussy anyway.
All right,
so you gotta deal with it.
Well, you said it. I just never had an issue with it. So I don't think I have any issues with any foods.
The only food I know that will fuck me up, the only thing, is ice cream.
Really?
I know for a fact that if I
haven't eaten ice cream just for shallow reasons. I haven't eaten ice cream in fucking years.
It does nothing for you. It does absolutely nothing for you. But I know
that's the thing, and I don't. It's almost like these treats. It's almost like having meaningless sex, which I do. Very often when I'm done, I'm like, was it worth it? Like, what? I don't. It was good, but it wasn't. It's never as good as you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it's the same when I eat. If I were to eat ice cream, I would be like, this tastes really good.
You get like post-nut clarity, and you're like, hey, wait a minute.
Once I'm done, I'm like, I could have just eaten something else to get rid of that craving that's healthier, and I'd be happy.
But it's funny, the one ice cream that doesn't fuck me up is a super healthy version of it's called Halo Top. You ever heard of that?
Yeah. That's like keto ice cream, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. But it's surprisingly good. I haven't had it in a while. Surprisingly good. That's the only kind that won't fuck me up. Other than that, I'm pretty... I hope it doesn't change.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty, open to interpretation when it comes to what I can put in my body, and I won't get sick. Ha ha ha! Semen.
Semen's fine.
But yeah.
Pass right through you.
If you're lucky. But yeah, I don't know, man. That's it's just different. Different things will serve the body differently, just depending on the person.
All right.
And I think there's nothing wrong with that.
We'll all get on TRT anyway, just in case.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Just blast D-ball, blast Tren.
D-ball, yeah.
Put it all into the same syringe. Put it in your ass. Go bench. Have a good night.
If I get a brain tumor, that's what I'll do. If they give me 3 or 4 months to live, then I'll go on tren. I don't think tren's going to save you from a brain tumor, though.
Nah, it'll inflame it for sure.
Yeah.
For people that don't know, tren is a fucking bull medicine.
Yeah.
That American bodybuilder said, you know what?
Here's the thing about tren. It literally... So people like joke about steroids shrinking your penis, which isn't true. They'll shrink your testicles for obvious reasons, but your penis doesn't get affected. But tren, they have shown, actually will shrink your penis. Did you know that?
No, it won't.
Google it, look it up. It's a thing.
Really?
Yes.
Because there's studies coming out now. Like I guess like a couple of years ago, there's a new version of Anavar that started coming out for medical use.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. Like,
Part of me doesn't. It's like
stuff like Anavar and testosterone are used medically.
Oh yeah,
like they are.
Yeah.
They are.
All the steroids. Well, pretty much all of them were for medicinal use.
Right.
You know,
with this new version of Anavar is putting like, not a lot, but it's putting like 0.5, 0.8 of an inch on some people, and they're like
penis size.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't need it. Seriously, I don't.
Like, I'm already carrying around this fucking hammer.
Hey, I do okay. I'm not worried. Anything that's going to be a cost, there's always a cost.
Yeah. It's like politics.
I bet your dick doesn't work as well or something if it gets bigger.
I forget who said it. It was like there are no deals in politics. There's only trade-offs.
Mm-hmm. Same with biology.
Yeah. Yeah,
that was that out my ass. I don't know if that's
true.
Well,
no, it's true. I mean, that was one of the big things I was afraid of getting on a TRT was like, okay.
I think with TRT, one of the trade-offs is just that it's a pain in the ass. Like you just got a fucking, no pun intended, or in your leg, and you have to deal with balancing everything out.
You got to deal with knots, and you got to deal with fucking that shit. I started getting knots in my ass, and that sucked. Do you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that fucking sucks.
I know more about this subject than I'm admitting to. Okay,
but I kind of figured.
Yeah.
But a buddy of mine, he was telling me, he's like, hey man, because all my friends except for me are like in the medical field one way or another. They're like EMTs, paramedics. But my roommate, he's in the Naval Reserve as a corpsman, and he's a firefighter and all this type of shit. Right?
I should have been a firefighter.
And a buddy of mine was like, hey dude, so when you're doing that, just make sure you don't hit your fucking your sciatic nerve. I'm like, what the fuck's a sciatic nerve? He's like, oh yeah, well you have to pin it in the upper
quadrant,
outer quadrant of your ass. I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, don't get too close to the middle because you'll pass out.
Yeah.
You know, with a needle in your ass. And I'm like, oh, no, thank you.
I know. You always see movies where like someone has to drug someone, they just like stab them anywhere.
It's just so crazy to me.
I know.
Like an EpiPen's one thing because you just hit the quad, hit the fucking shoulder. It's intermuscular or whatever. But like the scene in Pulp Fiction where they just right into the fucking sternum. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Yeah. What the fuck are we talking about here? Anyway, I was worried about losing my hair.
Yeah, me too.
Because I was like, I got a lot going for me, but I can grow a beard and I got long hair. I don't want to lose it. Thank God it didn't go away.
See, my problem is this. I'm not going to take my hat off right now because my hair will look terrible, but I'm like, my hair is thinner than it's ever been. I've always had like the widow's peak, but lately I'm like paranoid about hair loss, mainly because I think if I had a really thick beard and like thick eyebrows, which I don't have, I wouldn't mind going bald.
No, you'll be fine bald.
You think I'd be fine bald?
You'll be fine.
Really?
Yeah. You'll be
See,
fine.
but my ex-girlfriend I shaved my head and she was horrified and said that it didn't suit me and she never wants to see me bald.
Yeah.
And it fucked me up. But
you'll be fine.
Yeah, because I have terrible facial. Well, not terrible, but like it's very patchy.
Yeah.
I only grow thick hair on my chest and my butthole, like insane amounts. I don't know why.
Nah, you'll be fine.
Okay, all right, good.
It'd be one thing if you were fucking skinny and lanky like me, but you'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
We're both going to be fine.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
We're both going to take steroids and go bald.
Hey, you know what? I'll hold you to that.
I'll hold you to it. Let's do it.
Listen, man.
I've only got 6 months left to live. I didn't tell you that.
Oh, fuck. That's the breaking news.
Yeah, but there's nothing medically wrong with me. I just have chosen to live for another 6 months. I mean, fuck it.
Well, listen, man.
This has been a bombshell.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. God, this is the first podcast I've done that I actually fully enjoyed, and I include my own podcast when I say that. Yeah, because usually I have a podcast with AJ Martinez, which we do very rarely. You know AJ?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know of him. Yeah.
Ugh, brutal. We've had some very people like our podcast because we have nearly like come to blows during it.
Yell at each other the whole
We
time.
get so angry, but he's horrible. But he's very funny. Very funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Where can people
Everywhere.
find you on
So-
like socials,
so-
your podcast, all that stuff?
Okay, on Instagram at Eddie Stevens Massive. Then I don't even use TikTok or X anymore. I've given up on that. Just Instagram. I have a TikTok account, but it's mostly just weird homoerotic workouts. I'm developing very slowly a gay following on TikTok because I just post pictures of me working out progressively in fewer and fewer clothes.
He's not slutty enough for OnlyFans yet, people.
Oh, God. If I can make money from it, I'll do it. I don't mind at all. But yeah, somebody I just got followed by, I think it was AssMuncher69 on TikTok. So if you're into that kind of thing, follow me on TikTok. I think it's at Eddie Stevens 0. So at Eddie Stevens Massive on Instagram, and then the Eddie and AJ podcast, which we virtually never do, you can find anywhere. My rugby podcast, if I ever start doing it again, is Rugby Ranter Banter, but I doubt anyone watching this will be interested.
And then what about your YouTube page?
Oh, actually, I have a website now.
Nice.
Kurt Fletcher made me a website. Is it pronounced Stite? I can't remember what
If
it's
you're
called.
across the pond, it is.
I think it's Eddie Stevens Comedian or Eddie Stevens Comic. You figure it out.
Sweet.
And I think I'm talking about eating pussy on it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man. This has been fun. I
Yes.
want to do it again.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.